brave, don't you?
Maybe.
Even if you're far off, that's too rough.
It sure is.
Who's the commander?
You think I'll tell?
Wait!
Good job, Dingo.
Are you alright?
Yeah.
Dingo, the enemy is approaching me!
Alright, I'll try to head them off.
You will?
Take care, Angie.
Oh boy, we're up and going.
We up and going? We live?
We live. Your audio's up and everything, so we don't have to worry about it.
Hey, well, I kind of make this adjustment to my mic, so hopefully that I sound a lot more clear or louder, because a lot of people say that I sound so.
Well, I do have an adjustment on my end, in regards to that. So that could be a contributing factor and all that. That being said, though, guys, anyone that's watching us live, if there's audio issues, I had a slight audio issue earlier, so I want to know about it now instead of later, so we can fix the issues in regards to that. But audio seems to be fine when I did the intro, so sorry for the slight issue there. But yeah, Devin the Gamer is back.
Yes. What's going on? Don't mind. Let people know that we're alive. Because I didn't do that yet. So, but anyway, yeah, man, we're back again. We've got a lot to discuss, man. I mean, I've been busy this week with a lot of podcasts. But you know what I'm saying? This was, we had to do the Devin the Gamer this week because we didn't do it last week. So, but yeah, we got a lot of topics.
Well, isn't that the beauty of us not doing it all the time? We were just talking about this, right?
We're just
talking about this. Like, we can offer something, just nothing wrong with any of the other podcasts and what they do out there. Everyone's got their own hustle, right? Mm-hmm. But what's nice is we're able to kind of sort through that stuff and, pick the topics that I think the community wants to talk about and have these heavy discussions about, and then we can also offer more or something different, right? Without the pressure to continuously do stuff, because in the end of the day we end up being like, I don't know, like the news of gaming, and I don't think that's really what we're trying to shoot for, you know what I mean? So
no, yeah, we just do it a little bit differently. I mean, we've been doing this for a while. I mean, I've definitely been doing the podcasting for a while, so it's it is all about growth at the end of the day, but it's also about stability. And even if you do have growth, and if your stability is just not right, then it's going to crumble and fall anyway. So it's just best to just kind of, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, so you just take your time with it, and things will fall where they're meant. So that's just kind of like how I approach it. At first, I was let's go, and then when you get frustrated and don't have the results that you want, then you feel like it's just because you're not good enough or something like that. I hear this from a lot of podcasters or just people, the content creators, that ask me questions about, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. What is wrong? What is this? And I'm just like, it's all about patience. All about patience in this game.
I think also with time reflect, you can kind of look back and say, hey, what's working, what's not, what you personally like, and what you're personally proud of, that sort of thing. Right. And I'm personally proud of this podcast being a total mistake, total accident, right? It was never supposed to be this, but it ended up being this, and that's sometimes how that stuff works, man. Nothing wrong with that, right? So
yeah, it's crazy. I just just had a crazy hunch idea of just talking wildly on Xbox Live one day. Voila, it happened. So,
well, I mean, this is part. That's the thing. This is a GRG production. People don't realize that with Devin the Gamer, I think, enough, and maybe I need to do some sort of animated logo so people associated with that. But this is part of GRG. Gamers recognize gamers, right? And this is just because I couldn't make GRG all the time. I was busy, even with me going independent now, totally independent. Yeah. Just timing is crucial. Like, so, that's why it's the most consistently inconsistent podcast on the internet
ever. Well, and I'm that altogether. Like, I just throw videos random. And the only thing that's consistent is GRG, but you know what I'm saying? But we talked about that too. So like, you know what I'm saying? That, I might consider that. I might consider that.
We had some talks about some
GRG
stuff.
Will definitely still be around.
But that's K-Mega's business. So I'll let you figure that out later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but no, so have you ever I know you've been playing something, because I mean, I was in the stream listening to you talk, even though, Saturday, no, we were supposed to play it, but Wildlands didn't work. So I'm pretty sure you was playing
Wildlands was working for me
or something. It didn't work for me. Because I kept on trying, and then
I hit you up.
From you. Did you hit me up?
I hit you up, and and I'm like, well, maybe it's early enough. I think because I've been targeting like to start streaming earlier.
Oh, and I
It-
go later, so yeah, I
yeah,
probably
you know,
wasn't
then
even.
I naturally go later. So I was playing, and
Okay.
then no one showed up, and which is fine. People have things to do, and on a Saturday, I'm not going to criticize that. But no one really showed up on the stream side of things because Saturday is always kind of a community driven stream for me. People that I know and on Xbox Live and other platforms, I want to be able to play with them and just kind of not have just a single player day. Have because gaming is social for me as well. So
Right.
I have a time set aside for those people to get some recognition, which I think is important. And so, but no one showed up in the party, and which is fine. And I played for a little bit, and then I've been working out and going through physical therapy myself. My back and shoulders are killing me, so I got to a point where I'm
That
just
back
like,
is no joke, brother.
yeah, well, I'm not going to pretend I have the same level of back issues that you're going through. It's getting stronger again, but it's just sore. And so, coming back like that, it just made it so it was just like, oh, I'm tired. Like, well, if no one's joining and I'm feeling like crap, I'm just gonna, hang up the hat and then there'll be another Saturday. So, So yeah, I've been looking forward to doing that as far as gaming goes. But you know what I started, and this is a game that we've both been kind of on our bucket list: the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
I
so you
started that yesterday.
I haven't started that. What do you think so far?
The game doesn't translate, I think, to video, like when someone just watches the game, to actually how fun the game is.
You're another person that's told me that game is absolutely it's gorgeous and it's fun as hell.
It feels if you know what it feels like. It feels like a PlayStation story narrative game.
Really?
Without being a PlayStation game. That's what it feels like. It is one of the few third-party games I think that can compete with Sony on that front. Gameplay is solid. The story portion has good pacing, at least from the little bit I've done. Some people draw the comparison to Star-Lord to my face, and I don't know how to take that game because I feel like he's like a discount version of Star-Lord in comparison to the movies. It's good. Once you kind of get over the fact that I think it's the same thing with the other Marvel game that was more recent, done by Squaresoft, or published by Squaresoft, I should say. The characters don't look obviously like anything like the movie renditions of the characters, and I think that throws you off for a little bit. But once you kind of get past that and you get realize it's kind of its own standalone thing, it's fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, I only played about like an hour and a half of it and stuff like that, but it's good to like not always have every single game to be open world, right? Nothing wrong with an open world game, but I don't think every game needs to kind of hit those same check boxes. There's something to be said about just a really good story-driven game. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
I definitely gonna have to put it's something that I might have to just put in, just hop in. It's kind of like what I did with Plague's Tale. Just like, okay, let me just go ahead and try to see if I'll like this game or not, and then I caught myself way through until I beat it. So,
well, you know how you get too many open world games back to back to back, right?
Oh yeah,
then it sucks up a lot of time. If you want to have something that's just a good, solid experience, that's a more condensed version of that experience, versus like not an open world where you may not see somebody for 25 hours, right?
Yeah.
You just want a good solid start to finish sort of game and kind of sprinkle it in between. That's where you would put that in your backlog, as far as that's concerned. But it's a good game.
Yeah, no, I bought it December of last year, so and I had it on the plans, but just haven't got to it. So, and I mean, and now since we got this break, of course, all these delays, all these other things going, all these games being pushed back. So yeah, it's just a good time to hit the backlog. I don't see anything wrong with it. The internet, they go in and go crazy and try to tell people that, well, you got no games to play. No, I got plenty of games to play. And I beat like I said, Plague's Tale. And right after that, I went ahead and I beat goodness, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Good grief. Oh my God, I'm getting old. This is showing the times. Yeah, my birthday is coming up next week. I'm an old bastard because I forgot. Damn it, what's the name of that game? Because I just uninstalled it right after I did it. It's the hacker game. It's the second one. You had the
Oh,
Nathan Pierce or whatever was in
I'm
the
not
first
I'm
one.
not
Watch
into
Dogs.
Watch
Watch Dogs
Dogs.
2.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs 2. Yeah, I just got finished beating Watch Dogs 2 last week. I really enjoyed that game. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to the first game because I just didn't like that character. I just didn't like it. But
It's fine.
I will go and jump on Legions because I am playing with because I do got the DLC, and so I'm playing that Bloodlines DLC, and he's back in it, and I just realized how much I just don't like that character. But I'm like, well, it's different. But I really enjoyed Watch Dogs. I really did.
So it's like the mindset. Like, is it one of those games like if you're in the wrong mindset, you're just not going to enjoy it, sort of thing?
Maybe, I don't know, Don. I don't think that game is. I don't think you would like that game at all because
No.
it is too hipster. It's too emo
Mm-mm.
centric. It is all. It's young. It's hip. It's
I don't mind
it's all that.
the young and the hip and all that sort of stuff, but like it's when you have the young stuff that where they're trying too hard to be hip. I'm like, nah, bro. Nah.
Well, see, but that's the one thing that I liked about it is that like they didn't like because they had a black protagonist, but they didn't overdo it with him. Like he's like just a regular black dude, right? And then like the rest of the cast,
Yeah, he was mixed, right?
No, he's just.
I thought he was supposed to represent a mixed character. They were saying. Maybe I was incorrect.
No. He's
I never played it, so I don't know.
The person that is the leader of the group called DedSec, she's mixed. You could tell just by her complexion, she's mixed with something. I don't know if she's mixed with black and white or
whatever.
Latino and
it doesn't overly matter, but
it doesn't really matter. But she's mixed. But then they have like the
so maybe that's where I got mixed up.
Yeah. So. Then they got another white guy that has Asperger's, and because I was like, why is this dude acting weird like that? But then there was a mission where you did some stuff, and then there's an old guy that I didn't never beat the first Watch Dogs, that he comes back and he was in the first Watch Dogs. He joins the team and he's the old guy. And so he's just kind of like, I don't even know what you kids are talking about. So I love that little thing within the game that where you have a different group of people, and it's just I don't know. It was just fun. It was really fun.
I don't know. San Francisco is like not a place I want to relive in a game. That's another thing. So
you definitely ain't gonna like the main boss because he got a bun on the top of back.
Man bun?
Head, so
oh no,
he got a man bun.
No.
So yeah, he was a smart dude though. But
anyway, you can be a smart dude and still make bad hair decisions. I mean,
he was doing yoga and all this stuff. So I was like,
nothing wrong with him doing yoga. No, I do yoga. I do yoga.
It's just too, I guess, San Francisco for you.
It definitely is too San Francisco for me. I'm not in. San Francisco it's a wild place, man, and the place smells like urine. I can't. That's I am about smells, man. The place smells like urine when you visit it.
Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, but no, I enjoyed the hell out of that game. And then I'm playing Spider-Man right now. I've been kind of locked in, really enjoying it.
So you're giving it a second shot because you didn't really. Yeah.
I didn't like Miles Morales is what got me to get into it because Miles Morales was fun. The story now, the Spider-Man story is not as good as Miles Morales. Even though you do the same type of stuff within the game, chase pigeons and all types of crazy stuff, but it's still but within the game story, it's just got more weight to it.
Is the character more developed?
Well, no, Peter Parker. No, the voice acting and everything in the game in the regular Spider-Man is fantastic. It's just that the story, and even the villain, the villain is cool. It's just that the story just didn't impact me as much as Miles Morales.
It's funny you say that because I played through with the Peter Parker character, right? Obviously the main Spider-Man. Yeah. And I haven't played with Miles Morales yet. And probably I'll get to it when I just play on the PC side of things. But but the interesting thing is, like, as much as I enjoyed that Spider-Man, I didn't really. I thought the Peter Parker character was super bland. Bland. Yeah, I didn't like it. I mean, it just kind of like one of those things. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm leaning on this game more on the gameplay elements more than how they presented the story. So I just didn't think he delivered. In regards to that. And then I'm not criticizing. I still enjoyed the game. One of my favorite PlayStation games. But if I was relying on the story element of that for the enjoyment, I probably wouldn't have rated it very high. But on the gameplay side of things, I really enjoyed it. So that's
gameplay is very good. It is when people say because now since I'm how many hours I got into it now? I'm 60% done with almost everything in the game. I've been like, how I do when I get when I get locked in. But yeah, no, I'm going in. It's just that the story just isn't holding the same type of weight and that it's
there's more build up though.
The Mary Jane stuff where you play as her is not. I'm not feeling that.
I didn't like that that side stuff either.
Yeah, and even when you did your little thing with Miles Morales, I'm like, not feeling it right now. But so, I think that they could have just made that as cutscenes to have her walking around and stuff like that. I just didn't see the need for that. I heard people talk about it, but then as experiencing, because I was playing a lot of what
it feels like filler.
Yeah, it's just like we just want to get extra time in or let you play as this protagonist. But I mean, you really just doing nothing but hiding and going around stuff. Like no, let me just play as Peter Parker.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wasn't feeling it, but yeah, no, I'm enjoying the game though. I got flack because I was showing the game. I was showing the game, and then people will, placed it, and I said something about the Xbox controller, saying it was even sweeter because I'm playing it on the Xbox controller. Not taking a shot, just was saying like, look, I'm happy playing with the controller that I enjoy the most. Mm-hmm. And of course that caused problems. And then they were talking about my clip, the gameplay looked garbage, and I'm like, well, Twitter doesn't. You know what I'm saying? The way that Twitter does their
it doesn't have the same
game looks good.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same bit. It has a low bit rate, and it has to be a short thing, and it's meant to be on a tiny little screen. Like it's same thing with this, right? Like we have a certain bit rate limit. These games look a lot better in person. There's no doubt about it. They look way better in person, but Twitch has a bit rate limit. YouTube has a bit rate limit, even though it's I don't like the compression on YouTube, but I'll say this: the bitrate limit on YouTube is quite high, actually. If I had the opportunity, if I had the following on YouTube channel as I do on Twitch, I would probably exclusively stream on YouTube in retrospect now. But that whatever. Things don't ever look exactly the same like what you're playing natively. I mean, that's the case with streaming anything. It doesn't matter if you're streaming a game to play, or you're just streaming the footage out, or you upload a clip. It's never the same as what you're playing natively in front of you. That will always be the best experience in regards to that. So, in PC, there's just simply more overhead. It's gonna be interesting.
It's fun.
So you want to talk, since you're talking about if you're talking about Spider-Man, I guess we should talk about that subject first, right?
Right. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. Good segue. Well, something that I seen that was pretty interesting was that when you boot up the game on PC, it's got its settings and all that, but it also has a launcher, a PlayStation launcher. And I was like, what? And so when you click on it, it basically just shows you that you can buy games through Steam, through PlayStation, or through the Epic Store. So that just came, that kind of threw me off when I seen it. But then I was like, okay, all right. That's pretty cool.
Clarify. So they're not only showing the PlayStation launcher, showing you can buy directly off the PlayStation Store, but it's showing Steam and Epic.
Yes, and all the games that's on PC that are all the PlayStation games that's on PC that are first party titles for PlayStation that are available right now, like Days Gone, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, those, right? So
those are showing up on the PlayStation Store.
Right. And so it gives you the option to click on it to buy it. So I'm like, oh, so they have a cross buy situation. So which comes to me, I said, oh, this is kind of like Play Anywhere for like what Xbox is doing. So then it came to my, I was thinking like, okay, so this makes perfect sense. If PlayStation decides to drop a launcher, then
so
right now that they can have full control of what they want to do with their game.
The idea of a standalone launcher is what you're saying.
Right, standalone launcher. Right, and then they might have games come to Steam later, but only just have it exclusively go onto their launcher in Epic Games, and then at that point they could charge it at maybe charge that $70 price because they know that Steam fans are not going to be a fan of paying $70 for games, but the Epic Store and the relationship between Epic and
do you really think the Epic Store customers and the Steam customers are really that much different? I really feel like they're exactly the same. They're PC gamers.
Well, in a sense, no. The diehard they are PC gamers, but still, there are people that just refuse. I talked to some Steam people that just refuse to even use the Epic Store. There's some that will because of the free games. But then they'll tell me that they don't buy anything from there. They just get the free games.
Wait, so they won't buy stuff from the Epic Store, but they'll buy games on the Steam Store that run the Epic Unreal Engine.
That's their logic. I play on PC, but I don't. You know what I'm saying?
That seems like the few
politics, I don't know.
That seems the few and farthest between on that. I mean, obviously there's always edge cases with all that stuff, but. Yeah. I feel like the PC gamer is simply the PC gamer, right? Like the PC gamer brags about it being an open platform. So if you're that gamer, right, and you practice what you preach, then you don't really give a crap if it's the Epic Store or the Steam Store. You may have a preference, but at the end of the day, you really don't. It really doesn't matter that much to you.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I catch myself being more comfortable with the Steam Store because I'm more familiar with it. But when I go into Epic, I don't even really get the free games that much anymore. Now, at first, when I first got the launcher, I was getting free games all the time that they would offer. But now I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Because it's just not as put together as Steam. Of course, Steam it's been out forever, and so therefore they know how to. They just got a better system. But the Epic Store is kind of confusing on trying to get to where you're trying to go. So that's why, or I would go to that launcher and see what they have available, what sales they would have or something like that. But no, it's a little bit different, and I'm not really too familiar with it. I don't like it too much. So
okay.
I'll it's up there, but it's, it is what it is. But but other than that, I find it to be interesting. So the point that I was making, I mean, do you agree with that PlayStation could be in a position to where if they start their own launcher, which this looks like this is the path, that they would have more control of what they would on the pricing of their games instead of them just trying to put it in on Steam and paying that 30% to Steam. Maybe they'll drop it on Steam later, but they want to try to maximize and getting as much money as they possibly can right off the rip.
Well, I think people are going to try to draw some different parallels here between what Xbox is doing and PlayStation's doing. Two totally different things. Steam is one of Microsoft's biggest customers. Put that in the perspective, right? So when they're paying a premium to them, they're not paying the exact premium as, say, somebody like Sony would. Right. Just how the business model works on that side of things. That being said, Microsoft probably makes more money if they sell something directly through the Xbox Store, the Xbox app on your PC, right? And the same thing would be true with Sony. If Sony did their own launcher, they would be making more money, and they're paying a licensing or store fee, essentially, is what is a digital store is all you're talking about, right? To Steam or anyone else. And the same thing with Epic. Epic's the same sort of business model, right? Like either there's a incentive there, and it's a little bit different. Like for example, if I was going to release my game today, which runs on Unreal, I can offer it cheaper on the Unreal store than I can on Steam and make more money.
Makes sense.
Because they give me a greater discount because I'm using their engine, right?
Right.
And then I decide to do it on their store. So, for me, I probably would launch it on the Epic Store just from a business perspective, sort of thing. Now, that being said, Sony does have a small stake in Epic, not enough to make any sort of decisions, right? Or get any sort of advantages, but there is a relationship there. And so I can see, Sony maybe favoring the Epic Store over Steam or vice versa. Who knows how that really goes? The free market really would determine that. But what's stopping them from opening their own launcher? I think that makes sense. I think have a standalone PlayStation launcher, open it up, and then basically it works as a window to Epic Store or Steam, whatever you personally prefer there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pull up the launcher. It has your whole entire game library that's Sony specific games. I don't see any reason why they couldn't do that in regards to that. I don't know if it's going to be a play anywhere situation though. We'll see how that pans out in regards to that, because people are not familiar with when you buy things on Xbox, and if Microsoft owns, I guess, the studio, or I guess the best way to describe it is their studio, their IP.
Mm-hmm.
They make it so doesn't matter if you buy it on PC with the Xbox Store, or if you buy it on your console, you have access across platforms. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what we'll see with Sony on that side of things. I don't know if they see the benefits there to their customers. Well, I'm sure they see the benefits to their customers. I don't see if they see the benefits from a business perspective on their side. So
Right. Yeah.
that's yet to be determined, I should say, from those
that's
guys.
yet to be determined. So so do you think? Because I think this is where this is headed. To where if they do have their launcher, which they have, it's apparent it's there. If you boot it up on boot up Spider-Man, could this lead to games going day and date on PC, but it's only, like I said, exclusive to PlayStation? Do you see that being a thing to where they would drop their game day one on PlayStation and on PC, just only on the launcher and maybe the Epic Store?
A launcher would be one piece of the puzzle,
Right.
but they would have to fix their whole entire pipeline to how they develop games. Does that make sense? Like, as their studio stand alone right now, right? Obviously, from game development style, you always develop way higher in the spec you have, and you scale down accordingly, to get it to work on the hardware and the way you want that to work on that particular piece of hardware, whatever your targets are, right? Well, a lot of these studios just have one performance profile they're targeting. That's all they're doing, right? It's all their focus is on it. And then now they have some other studios to take a pre-existing game and make different performance profiles to work on PC, right?
Right.
So if they're going to keep that same sort of pipeline of how they develop games and how they port things over, the only way they're going to be able to do day and date based on how they're currently developing is just hold off. Don't do their release. Wait until they get their PC port done, and then do it then.
Okay. That was going to be my next question.
There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't see Sony doing that. I think they look at it from a perspective of, hey, let's get it out to our main audience. Let's get it sold. Let's get butts in the seats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get that huge boost in sales, and then 3 months later, when the sales are starting to die off again, they start making the game more relevant again by releasing it on PC. Does that make sense?
Right.
Kind of like if you draw the parallel to like the Master Chief Collection, right? Regardless of all the pitfalls of the game or anything like that, that game got a vitamin B shot when they released it on PC. Does that make sense? And it's because it was on console for such a long time, and then once they released it on PC, it made it a relevant topic once again, and it made a whole nother group of gamers talk about that game. And so I think there's a benefit to doing it that way for Sony in regards to that. We'll see what their long-term plan is. I think Microsoft doesn't agree with that. I think Microsoft is more of, hey, release on everything and we can get as big of an audience right off the bat. There's nothing wrong with that approach either, as long as you do it correctly, as long as the game works correctly. Just depends. Two different perspectives. I don't think you're going to get the same perspective from both of those platform providers. And I think there's competition that will drive them towards a common goal, right? Mm-hmm. But they're always going to take a different take on it, and that's kind of my take on it. So
yeah, no, I mean it's a possibility, but I mean it could be a point to where a possibility where they could drop their games a lot quicker within, like you said, that 3 months. Because I made a video the other day, I was talking about it. I'm like, yeah, at least if they don't drop them day and date, they'll be coming in a lot coming in pretty hot, pretty quick within that 3-month range, maybe 6 months at the latest.
I mean, that's what the port studios are
same
for.
Year. Right.
So,
and Nexus is looking like right now, especially if you play Spider-Man. I don't know what other games they have made for Sony or for the PC. But this could be one of their best
ports
studios the best studios that they've picked up out of the ones, even better than Bungie in a sense of just the quality of work that they've done. Because I mean it's really impressive. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a killer monster PC like that, but I mean, you definitely see the difference.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, they're probably going to invest more in the Nexus, right? So, they're not just porting one game; they're porting multiple games simultaneously. Yeah. And that whole idea of, within that 3-month period, I think that's the most relevant time you can get that port in, right? Like, doesn't matter if you want to make the argument of day and date or 3 months out, but you have to be like in that 3-month window, I think, where it has the most impact.
Yeah, I agree.
In regards to that. So, yeah, here's the thing, guys. If you're a diehard PlayStation fan, people playing on PC is not going to hurt you in any sort of way. It's just simply not. You're still going to be a console gamer. Still always going to be an audience for that. But expect more and more things to be ported over. This is not a one-off. I guess is what people have to come to a realization in regards to that. So, that's the harsh reality in regards to that. But it's not a bad thing, though. I mean, more gamers playing your games, more people buying games that you love on your favorite platform. All that's going to do is incentivize Sony to make more of these style games that you enjoy.
Right.
And then that's very, very important to point out in regards to that. But no, I think they're going to do a launcher. What that launcher looks like and how that's done. That might be a totally different subject matter, though. So,
no, it's going to be pretty interesting. Sure, and I think I want to see if I want to set my back. I want to change my background. See what kind of
background.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, I got the crazy eyes too. Okay, let's not do that. I just wanted the background. I didn't want the eyes. Come on, let's see. Come on, guys, don't do me like that. Let's try this. Okay. Well, that's a lot of fast moving. That might be confusing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we should trust you with technology.
All right, here we go. Okay, well now, come on, let me get the thing without the big eye. Why get the big eyes with that? Because I like that. That's dope. Okay, what's this? All right, cool. We can rock with that.
Why your eyes all? Your eyes are different on that one too, are they?
No. My eyes is okay. This one is right. But yeah, I like this. I can dig that. I mean, I just, what I'm saying? I'm like, let's just assume I'm different.
Hey guys are watching this. I have no control over what Mega's doing right now.
It's okay, but this looks nice though, don't it? I mean, isn't this a place you would rather be right there in the background? Just chilling.
Just chilling. I don't chill all out. I don't take good vacations. I tend to be always active. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're going to be active. You're going to be doing some things, but I mean, in a sense of like, but at this point, watching the sunset, you chilling at the beach, and
That's
just chilling at this point.
That's
right?
an everyday sunset here in Utah. That's no big deal.
Okay, all right. So
just just different trees. That's all it is.
I mean, we get a sunset like that too in Oklahoma, but I mean, it's home. It's Oklahoma. I want to see something else. I want to be in a different area. So let's just do that. Like, so anyway, is the background cool or not? That's the point. Does it look okay?
I don't know. I think you have to ask the audience.
Okay. So, you know what I'm saying? If you want me to change it back and just to see the Marvel thing on the background, then that's fine. I think when I do when I'm a guest, I'm gonna change it up, and I'll probably come in with the big eye, or maybe the noodle, because I haven't done the noodle. So but anyway, so no, but okay, so let's get back. All right, so I don't know, man. I just think personally that they should make that they should just, the best thing for them to do if they want to maximize the money that they want to do, just do it within, like you said, the 3 months or day and date. Nobody's ever complained when Sony decides they want to delay games. Make sure Nexus get all those games up. I mean, just think about all the games that they got available that they're going to be dropping on PC. Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, Demon remake to Demon Souls. Miles Morales is going to be coming sometime this year. They even said that the Last of Us remake is going to be dropping on PC.
Was it Last of Us collection or was just a Last of Us was a remake. Uncharted is a collection. Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I'm gonna as long as it ain't $70, I'm gonna cop it because but I'm gonna cop that. I'm looking forward to going through that and playing that. Also, like, they're gonna be dropping Forbidden West probably sometime next year. And I mean, just a ton of games that they'll have available that they'll drop on PC, man. Just to drop those games on PC day one, that's a win. Because I think that some people will pay the $70. Most people, I think, they look at this $70 thing kind of crazy. And Sony even said themselves that they might be willing to raise the price even higher, according to what they feel if their content is that to that level. I don't agree with that. I don't know. What do you think about that? Because they said they're not. It's not off the table that they would charge higher for their future games. I mean, so what's that? What's does that say to you? Like, I mean, would you pay for an $80 standard game?
No.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm not trying to be rude. I mean, like, I think the free market will dictate all that sort of stuff. I think they are going the wrong way, and I don't think they're reading the temperature of the room. That maybe looking at the finances and what it takes to make their games, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you live in a world where it's not just one business model, right? In regards to free to play is a thing, and free to play will eat your lunch if you don't pay attention to what's going on there. So, and I know people will dog a free to play game because it's this style game. It's not. They'll start comparing quality and all that sort of stuff. But not every gamer thinks the way the people that are critical of that stuff is, right? Like the market is expanding and that sort of thing. I think honestly for games like story-driven narrative games, I think the future is a $40 price point, believe it or not, or a $50 price point. I think that's.
I see somebody post that today. $40.
Yeah, but you get the. Here's the thing: you're obviously not getting. You're getting off of volume, right? So if you got the volume, you can justify a lower price point and get more butts in the seat. And then you get more people to try the game, then more people try the game, and then more people talk about it. And we also live in a weird world too, where the reviewer, they're out of a job. let's just be real about that, right?
Yeah.
Games are so much more affordable. People can play things. There are things like the Game Pass, right? Like that's a thing, right? Like that literally costs very low entry to get to try these games, right? So someone's opinion about a game online just almost doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like you can just try a very low entry and just see where it goes, and then gamers talk amongst themselves, and it kind of goes from there. So I feel like the set price of even $60 is is not the future, right? Like trying to get, especially when you have more gamers coming to the market, I think the price is going to have to drop down the road. And then you also have the issue with with inflation, right? People are looking at their finances differently. You just kind of you have to read the room in regards to that. So the future I think is cheaper. I think it's definitely a misread on the room. I understand them making money. I don't even blame them for making money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you charge what you think you can charge for your product, and that's between you and then that audience. And if the audience pays for it and they're happy, by all means, like, I was wrong, no big deal. But if the audience is
so
not,
far it doesn't look like it's right, because I mean their numbers are down, and they dropped a lot of hot content, or good strong legacy content, and it's and the numbers are just
but that's the thing. That's why I'm not worried about it, because what will happen is they'll have to do a market correction if they're wrong, right? If they're wrong, they're gonna have to lower the price. And so that's something they have to think about in regards to that. So not really that worried about it. I'm a big component. You buy a game, don't even complain. Like, a lot of people won't complain about games like, this is too much for, they're charging too much for what this is. Then don't buy it. Just wait until it's worth the value for you, so you have a good experience, right?
Agreed.
And go forward from there, and then that will dictate it. You can yell into the ether of the internet, right? You can be that old man yelling at the clouds, right? They're not going to pay attention. And people always say, like, vote with your wallet. No, it's not even that. Just buy it when it's worth it to you, right? And everyone's a little bit different than that. There's no right or wrong answer, right? Like, if you're a customer that wants to pay $80 for one of their games and you feel like it's worth it, I'm not going to criticize that person. Like, it's your money. Like, I don't care, right? Like, that's their business, right? In the same token, if somebody wants to pay $40 to $30 for that same game, then that's the market, just kind of telling you what it's worth. And a lot of times, like, people will do like the guilt trip of, hey, I've seen this out there where people give the guilt trip to developers. Think of the developers, you have to buy it when it's brand new. I'm like, no, the developers have to make a product that competes for your dollar. That's the harsh reality. That's the business, right? I mean, in regards to that. And if someone doesn't buy it, then that's either on the marketing people, developer, the publisher, all those sort of people, all those, that's their problem, right? It's not your problem as a gamer. As long as you're not pirating, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Totally agree. All right, let's move on, because I remember we talked about the price point last episode, but let's talk about something that's got Xbox gamers up in a little tizzy. I'm seeing that there's some people upset, and I mean, me, I've last generation, there were a lot of situations where I felt that Xbox deserved the criticism that they got. The only thing that I really can go and say about, well, regardless of this year, because I was on Fonzarelli's show Sunday,
Okay.
and so he was asking me about the disappointment of Xbox not having games this year, or AAA titles. Don't look at that as a failure. No, I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as a disappointment. But you can't. But again, the old Xbox from the Xbox One generation would have rushed that game out, trying to counteract the negative press. Now I feel that they're so confident into the products that they're bringing out that they want to bring it at its best. So when you have games that's delayed, we as Xbox centric players, or I should say me myself, should look at it from a standpoint of like how PlayStation fans look at it. Like, you know what? Yeah, this sucks, but the fact of it is that I know that this game is going to be the best when it drops. And that's how I look. That's how I look at it, and that's how I responded to Fonz. But with this situation here with um with the PC situation, there was rumors of Death Stranding coming to Xbox PC. Let me go ahead and read the rest of these games that's on here because there's a lot of games that's going to be dropping on Game Pass PC.
Uh-huh.
It's rumored to be Death Stranding, the PC version, then Wolfenstein 3D, Return of Castle Wolfenstein, Quake 4, Quake Champions, an ES Legend Battle Spear, and TES Adventures Red Guard. Now, the only two games that I maybe played is Quake 4 and Wolfenstein 3D. And I
Okay.
don't even know if I played Wolfenstein 3D.
Are
Now, these
most
are
of
older titles, right? Yeah.
so are most of those Bethesda titles?
Yeah, those are all Bethesda titles.
Okay.
So
Exception of
yeah,
the Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. Yeah,
Yeah.
except Death Stranding. And so there's Xbox gamers that are just upset, like, where is the Xbox version of this? Well, I mean, listen, if the game doesn't have a Xbox port yet, then maybe it'll come later. And maybe that these older games right here will maybe they'll come in some capacity and maybe some shape or form to come on Game Pass later on. But if the games are available and you putting them on Game Pass PC, that's still good value for the gamers on PC. Like, I get the fact that when you hear the word Game Pass, you automatically think of Xbox in the console, but
Okay.
Xbox is also a part of PC. So are you in the same boat as me on that? Like, I mean, it's a little bit of an overreaction of people being upset about it, or do you feel that Xbox console gamers are being slated or slided because they're not getting these games on Xbox right now at this present time?
I mean, I would understand the feeling of feeling slighted if Xbox wasn't committed. Does that make sense? And the impression I get is Xbox is committed. And what I mean by that is this idea of being able to, when you own a game, you can play it across everything, right? And so I think they are committed to that. I think eventually you are going to get ports of that because they own the rights. They own them now, right? You know,
Right.
outside of the Death Stranding rumor that keeps being thrown around. So the question is, what do you do, right? Do you just not offer it to the PC players until you get your console port, or do you release it now and then get your console ports down the road? And you know, that's really kind of like it's a weird chicken and egg argument sort of thing, like you have going on there, and then someone's going to take offense to it. I mean, the fact is they exist today on PC, right? So the amount of work that has to be done is very little to get that to happen. Is that saying that they can't do a console port? They probably will. And I think that'd be awesome, and it should be celebrated when it does, because it shows that commitment that Microsoft has had. Remember Civilization? How this is an earlier conversation that's happened. I remember when Civilization was announced, and it was only on. It was not just Civilization. Let's say Flight Sim as well, but both of them in the same category. They were announced for PC before they were announced for console, right? Because they were ready for PC. They didn't have a console port ready to go. They're waiting for the next generation systems to make it easy to port them over. And that's just where they were at that time, right? But guess what? I can play Flight Sim on my console now, right? Not only you can play Flight Sim, you can play Flight Sim on the older Xbox One Fat. I think they were talking. Well, at least they were talking about a streaming option for that game. So, if or when that does happen, and if it's already happened, I do apologize. I haven't been keeping up with the game. Then, they've fulfilled that commitment that they promised to the gamers. Does that make sense? The same thing with Civilization. They start making it available to console. If you do a similar thing where you have the older console and you can't run it on natively on that hardware, but you can stream it, they're meeting that commitment in regards to that. So you got to think, this is a big shift that Microsoft is steering this direction, right? Right. And there's a lot of things going on, and sometimes it's slow to move all these things into this converging path, right? But from my experiences, they're committed to it. They're committed to this idea in regards to that. And so I get it. If you're a console player, you're missing out on something. But, there's times that, I feel like Microsoft's catered to the console players sometimes where the PC players missed out because there was not a PC port. It's happened the other way around too, right?
That definitely has, yeah.
Yeah, so
especially last year, because there was a lot of PC gamers that was upset about the fact that those games were only on Xbox and didn't come on to PC. So
So I mean, they're doing what they can with where they're at. I guess the question is, do they jump the gun when they have it now for whatever side of the platform ecosystem it is, or do they wait? And I tend to agree with go for it. YOLO. Just YOLO, man. Just go for it, man. And if you have it, why make a certain audience wait for the other audience? I think that's I think that's just doing the best you can for the gamers you can at the moment, at the time that you can. Does that make sense?
Right.
And just show that you're committed. Keep showing that commitment in different forms and fashions. Keep that commitment going, and I think people that are up in arms they'll come to terms with things.
Yeah, no, and see, like, okay, so I'm going through and I'm reading some of the comments of the people that are upset. And so this person was saying, like, these games should come to console as well. At the very least, Quake 4, or it's Quake 4 or Quake 6. I think it's Quake 6. Quake 6 and Return of Castle Wolfenstein, they already have Xbox console version. But I mean, look.
Well, Castle Wolfenstein's different because they don't own the publishing rights.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm confusing that with Castlevania. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So sorry. I apologize. I'm not as
I didn't know that. But
I'm not as familiar with that game, so I do apologize. Yeah. But if it's part of the Bethesda deal, eventually, it'll
eventually come. But I mean, would you rather have those older games to come out that I mean, because there are Xbox ports, but I mean, how they're probably, if you just drop them in there, will those games have auto HDR? Will they have the boost added to them? I mean, I would rather them take their time and bring those games in, and if not, if they want to remaster them and bring those games into a package,
or just do a PC port.
Yeah, or do a PC port.
Like they did with the Ninja Gaiden series, right? Like it's not like they remastered it. It's just the PC port they brought over with the higher settings, and so why not have that as the option? So, like, here's the thing: there's always a reaction to this stuff. It's weird.
It is.
It's just to some degree, like Xbox almost kind of created this environment by saying, "Hey, we listen to the players," which is true, right? But sometimes when these companies respond to the people that are really, really upset all the time, sometimes it makes the audience feel like you have to be upset to be heard. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so Xbox almost kind of creates this environment where the gamers that get upset are the ones that get noticed. Versus being a little more civilized or a little bit more understanding of the subject matter, right? So I don't know.
I mean, look, people have the right to complain about whatever they want to.
Exactly.
And it was respectful. It wasn't like.
Oh, was it respectful? Okay, so maybe I misread.
Yeah, it was respectful. It wasn't. Yeah, because the person that the main person that I read his stuff, he's always respectful, but. It's just the fact that, like, because one of his response, because I guess there was people that was telling me, man, why are you doing all the complaining and everything? And he's like, man, people can be critical if they want to, and I totally agree. But I'm just like, it's okay. And I think that the reason why people are complaining, see, this is what would have been, I think, the difference. Now, I don't know. I have to ask him to see. But if Xbox were having the games that were supposed to be dropping this year drop, would they be as concerned? Or Is it because that they keep seeing and hearing from certain individuals out there that Xbox has no games for 2020 two and they're and so they get caught up into this console war garbage, and then they're over here like, well, we just need to get whatever so we can just say that we have some games to show or to play. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that they're not going to play them or that they don't want them, because they obviously they sound like they do. But to me, I don't know. That's why I need to ask that question,
So you're
because to me, I think
saying-
it's a little bit of both in a sense.
To make sure I understand this, so you're saying
Yeah.
they're more interested for the glow factor than the fact that they just want to play those
Well,
games.
I don't know about that. This particular individual, I think
Okay.
I think he's genuinely just upset about it. But for other people that's saying the same thing, I think it's just it's just part of the clout situation, because
Yeah.
I don't see these people really caring about these games because they never mentioned them before, you know. So
it's a dog pile situation.
yeah, that's
gotcha.
what I'm saying. Like, I mean,
Okay.
I understand that. See, case in point, Gears Tactics. Remember when Gears Tactics first dropped
It
on
was just
PC?
PC only, right?
Yeah, right. And then the game got ported over. I don't know if it was within the same year. I think it was. But it was, 6, 7, 8 months later or whatever, and it was part of an Xbox launch title. Nobody didn't talk about that game. Nobody.
No.
They were all in upset about this same type of situation. Well, what about the console gamer? Well, Gears Tactics dropped. Where's the gameplay? Where's the hype? I mean, like, your demand was much more louder than you showing us that you're pleased about this game being ported over to the Xbox.
Okay.
And that's what I kind of feel about for some of the people. Not all, right? Not all,
Of
but
course.
some. And that to me is where I feel like it's like, is it a big deal? Not to me, it's not. But I mean, I understand the people having their being upset or disgruntled behind, especially if they don't have PC or they don't consider playing on PC. But if it's just like with Age of Empires, there's a lot of people that ask for Age of Empires to come. I eventually feel that it will come to consoles, but I got to see that same energy once that game drops on consoles. You see what I'm saying? Like, if the people that don't like Xbox doesn't say, well, that's a game that's got my attention, or they don't talk about it a lot, then it seems to me that those people will not bring it up once Age of Empires do drop, because the only thing that the people that don't like Xbox will say, well, it's just an RTS. Nobody plays those type of games. And then they'll just kind of like not say nothing about it. That's the impression that I'm getting from a lot of people that are complaining. Not everybody, but a lot. That's
more of a reactionary type.
More of a reactionary thing.
Yeah.
I think just to react, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would understand where they're coming from and sympathize with that group a little bit more if Xbox didn't have a history of still bringing that stuff over. I mean, like, Gears Tactics is a perfect example of something that was only slated on one. There was no talk about it coming to console, and they did it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to do it, but did it because they like money, and they're not trying to slate a particular style of customer. In regards to that, as I said, this is a big ship. There's a lot of moving parts to get it to kind of converge in this one direction. And they have a goal, and I think they're committed to that goal. And I say I trust in the process of what Microsoft's doing at this moment in time. But if they have a history of, like, for example, that none of those games we mentioned never came from PC to console, then I would understand the argument, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I get it. If you feel like a second-class citizen sort of thing, it's people that are genuinely frustrated in regards to that. But just keep in mind, just it's part of how the sausage is made, and eventually we'll all get there. I mean, these sort of things are going to be less and less likely as they build up their back catalog and get it on every single platform they have, right? As they release games simultaneously on every platform. When I mean every platform, I mean PC and their streaming service and their dedicated consoles, in their new consoles down the road. Like this stuff is all going to come to come to a head where like this is not a conversation we're going to have in the future in regards to that. So yeah, show me examples of them breaking that commitment, and then I would say my counter to that would be give it some time, and then see who's right or wrong, right? And I feel like when you have time on your side and you kind of let things play out, you start realizing maybe I shouldn't react to that situation the way I did,
right,
in regards to that. So I understand the feeling of missing out, and you're committed to a console, and that's how you enjoy gaming and all that sort of stuff. Just keep in mind that there's always pros and cons to that, and there's pros and cons to PC gaming too as well. So
that's great. You know what I'm saying? Look, like I said, it's okay to complain. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, Xbox is definitely not perfect.
no,
But I feel that it's at the same time, like be patient. I mean, it would be different if like, will we get a PC port? I mean, will we get a console port at some time? Other than I feel neglected because PC's getting everything, but forget that, like we was just saying, that PC gamers were getting neglected as well when Xbox was getting stuff. There's going to be this back and forth until they can all get it all sorted out, and it might not ever get sorted out that way, because I mean there are just games that are primarily for PC that just won't translate well on the console. So it's
I think there's always a way,
yeah,
in regards to that.
way, but I mean,
yeah, but
I don't know. But do they want to put in that time and effort for a really old game that they're not going to remake? They might just patch it up or port it. Do they want to put their resources into those type
and then
of
that's the
games?
solution.
Like,
Is it
like
is
that.
a simple
Yeah.
port, right? Is it this?
Yeah.
Like they have all the tools to do things at different levels based on what their commitment is and what they feel like their return on investment is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I don't really think there's that sort of level of barrier that people are overly worried about. I just feel like timing is just one of those things with older stuff. It just they're just like, hey, we can put this out now. And you're like, okay, do it. You know what I mean? Like we can do this now. By all means, let's do it. And it's funny because like you hear there's definitely different social circles within PC and within console gaming. I hear about it a lot on both sides. People complain about one another. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how many Discord parties I've been into where people are complaining about controller players on console for crossplay. And then you and me will be in an Xbox Live party, and then someone will complain about every PC gamer is a cheater, which is not true, right? Like there's these weird stereotypes that people have because culturally they've been in their own little bubbles in regards to that. So, this stuff just takes time, I guess. Even with the understanding of the difference between console and PC players, it just takes time. If console players are never interacting with PC players, then they're going to have a totally different experience than say somebody that that's on the PC side and never works with console and vice versa. It's just how it is. But people that play both and interact with both kind of understand that there's not as much of a difference as people get credit for. It just takes time. That's all it is. All this stuff's going to take time. So
definitely. All right, so let's move on to some really big crazy news that happened overnight, early, around like 11 p.m. midnight time. It just kind of shot out, and I was getting ready. I got done playing Spider-Man about like 1-2 o'clock, and then I was like, all right, let me get ready to go to bed. And then I just, I do my little check, and then I seen that Embers Group, or Embracer Group, I say Embers Group, Embracer Group, had just went on a shopping spree for studios and has picked up the Middle-earth Enterprise. So that means that they own all of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit IPs, movies, and toys, everything. Anything that's got to do with Lord of the Rings.
Across the board. So
cross
media stuff.
Yeah, everything.
Oh, okay, cool.
Everything.
I don't know if it's cool or not, but it's interesting.
We'll find out.
It's interesting
because
so there's big big dollars being moved, so it is interesting.
Big money. But also Tripwire Interactive. I really enjoy Killing Floor. I haven't played it in a long time, but it's got, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to play it, but it plays like Left 4 Dead. But graphically it looks really good. Really crazy bosses that you fight. Really cool game. I need to go in there because they always update it. Then they also made Maneater, which was a shark game, which that's on Game Pass. I have not played that game. A lot of people enjoyed it. I know Bloody Knuckles was capping for that game hard, but there's a lot of people say it was fun. You know, where you were the shark and you just eating people and stuff like that. I need to probably give that game a shot. But then Limited Run Games. I don't know what they make, but I'll go and look while we're talking about it. And then Tuxedo Labs.
All right, so you keep listing. I have to step out for a couple seconds. I apologize. Okay. But you keep listing all the games, and I'll be right back.
You got that weak bladder, I understand. Anyway,
no, my dog's gotten into something. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, all right. And also then there's Tuxedo Labs, which I'm gonna have to repeat all of this. Sing Tricks, and it says another disclosed studio that creates PC console games. And so my question is going to be, which I made a video talking about this the other day, about NetherRealm Studios and how that's going to and where that translates into, because from what I showed in the video was that there was this toy maker company that makes all different types of Ultimate Edition toy lines and just different things within the industry. And he made the point of saying that it was tricky because he can't go to WB to talk about more Mortal Kombat stuff because NetherRealm WB does not own the rights to the Mortal Kombat IPs or to NetherRealm. So I rewinded that 3 or 4 times, went back, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute, what is he talking about? So it was pretty clear. Like, I mean, they seem to not be owned by WB. So the question is,
okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Yeah, somebody else picked them up or whatever. But so I'm gonna repeat it because I said I was gonna repeat it. But okay. So the other studios that I didn't mention, or that I did mention that you didn't hear, was Tuxedo Labs, which like I said, I'm gonna look at Limited Run Games, Tuxedo Labs, what they make, Sing Tricks, and then the undisclosed studio that creates PC and console games. Now, that's when I was bringing up the point about my video when I was mentioning Warner Brothers doesn't own the rights to NetherRealm. And the reason why I found that out is because of that toy maker, or that make those Ultimate Edition collector's items.
Yeah, because they have to license that stuff out to those places, like Todd McFarlane Toys, for example. You have to he has to get the license right to make the character, and a certain percentage of that money goes back to whoever owns the property rights of let's say Mortal Kombat, right? So that's kind of how that works. That makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, that made me ask the question of like, okay, so is NetherRealm independent, or are they acquired by somebody? And for people who don't remember, NetherRealm, or I should say Ed Boon, was talking before E3 that they were going to show something during that week of E3 or right at E3 time, to where the not pre-E3, but these events that were kicking off in June, that he was working on a new project and he can't wait to show people because it's something that people aren't going to be expecting. Now, of course, Ed Boon trolls people, but I mean, could it be Embracer Group that acquired them? Because I mean, to say another disclosed studio that creates PC and console games, obviously there's must be some red tape involved for them to not to discuss right now. And could this be a possibility that they pick them up as well, or that that NetherRealm is independent right at this point in time, or maybe is there another person like Sony, Xbox, Tencent? I mean, what do you think about that? And then you can explain to me about all the things that Embracer Group just acquired, and then I'm going to read some of those games off once you get done.
All I
From these
know
other
is
studios.
it's nice to have money, right?
Bro,
Right.
bro,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah. So
man.
I mean, there's this this kind of the grab bag of trying to buy studios and talent. It's real. I joke. I don't even joke around about it. I'm dead serious when I say there is a shortage of talent in the industry. Absolutely across the board. Maybe not as much on the music side of things because they're kind of a lot of studios they end up being more contract workers. But when it comes to the art side of things, when it comes to the programming side of things, it really is there is a shortage of talent. There's a lot of competing businesses out there that they're pulling that, and then you have people or places that are established like studios. People are like they've worked together well with one another, right? Like that's I can take the top tier talent, throw it all in one building, but it doesn't mean they'll put out a good game. Does that make sense? Right, it can leadership can bring it down, or whatever it may be, or they just don't gel well together. They don't have the same vision, whatever it may be, on the product they're making, and so it can affect that. So buying studios is hot if you can afford it. If you want to be in the game industry, you want to be that. My question with Embers Group is what's their bigger play, right? Do they just want to be bigger than EA, or do they want to have their own service of some sorts, right? And it's not like they'll invest their own render farm. They'll probably pay either Amazon or Microsoft Azure, you know what I mean, to do their own streaming service, and so you can stream it and have something similar to Xbox Game Pass with say Embers Group, and then they'll probably still release that stuff on other platforms as well, right? So they probably won't, they'll probably do it on your current consoles and your PC and stuff like that, so you can play it natively as well. So I mean that's a possibility. They may have a bigger play here, and they're trying to buy up all the talent because now people are looking at services a little bit differently in the game industry with the way Xbox Game Pass has gone, and how much stuff that Microsoft is buying in regards to that. That changes everything, and then it makes Sony a buyer too as well. They're spending more than they ever have been. I wouldn't say as much as Embers Group, not as much as Microsoft, but their spending is up as far as all that stuff goes. So the question is, what's the bigger play for Embers Group? Now, as far as Ed Boon and his team, that's interesting. In regards to that, obviously, Warner Brothers doesn't have the rights anymore. So the question is, who would be interested in them? And I think they're a talented enough studio. I think everyone would be interested in them.
Oh yeah.
They're top tier in that particular genre. If you ask me which they probably have the strongest relationship with, NetherRealm, out of the major platform providers like Sony, Nintendo, Embers Group, I would say they have a much closer relationship with Microsoft out of everybody. They're in their backyard.
Yeah.
They're located out in Washington area. So there is that. But we can rule out from them they're not doing probably not doing a Warner Brothers title anymore. No
Maybe
more Wonder
not.
Woman, no more Superman, no more
Yeah, see, and that's the thing.
What was that? Justice League? It was what it's called?
Justice. Injustice. Now, okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Could this be a situation where, okay, from what that man said, because that video was dropped 4 days ago, so this was just recent. This was within the week. Could this be a situation where maybe Warner Brothers and NetherRealm are in contract discussions, and maybe NetherRealm is like, well, let's just go ahead and let's just hold on to what we have, and if we decide to decline, or if we decide to, like it could be a situation where Warner Brothers could get them back, but there might be in a contract, negotiation or something like that, or is this a situation where NetherRealm is just basically not dealing with Warner Brothers.
So I don't know if their contract was very similar to like I think what you're hinting at is very similar to like the Sony movie side of Spider-Man, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking of.
If they don't produce X number of products within a certain time frame, the rights go back to Marvel. Does that make sense? For the movie rights stuff, right?
Right.
So, is it one of those things? Was it a contract where they had to produce X number of games per year? They had to upfront the money, like in this case WB, to produce those games, right? And then that contract expired, and then it just went back to NetherRealm. Could be.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what their contractual agreements were with Warner Brothers, or that they straight up own a certain percentage of the rights and then they sold those rights.
It was always reported that Ed Boon and them owned Mortal Kombat. You know what I'm saying? Owned the rights to Mortal Kombat, and then just Warner Brothers once Warner Brothers bought Midway, they just went over there and went that then just
strong arm
them in a way. But could it be anything? Because this is another thing too. Because like there's people that's telling me no, after this report that we've read, that Warner Brothers is saying that that the money that they've accumulated from their game sales has been better than they've been in a really long time, and all the things, everybody's happy and joyous and all this, and Discovery Plus is saying that they are interested in getting into the video game market. They're telling me that they don't see any of this happening. What I feel is that this is more of a situation where they're promoting they're promoting their games as, oh man, look how much these games are selling. Look how popular they are. Now, how much do you bid? You see what I'm saying? That's what it seems like to me, is like you tout something to make it seem like it's bigger than what it really is, or just give it more praise than what it is, so then you can get somebody to want to buy your product at a higher value than, let's just say, if all the stuff that was coming out like 2 weeks ago, that WB and Discovery Plus was canceling all these shows on Warner Brothers. HBO Max is in the mud. I look at it from that standpoint of that they're trying to boost up everything else, especially their games, to have their IPs up for sale. I mean, do you agree with that, or do you feel like they're just still happy and they're going to keep some of these IPs with Warner Brothers and Discovery Plus?
Oh, it depends. If I think they're gonna try to if they're independent, and you have to speculate the other thing, right?
Yeah. I'm just going by what that man said, right? Yeah.
So let's say they own their own rights, and NetherRealm's doing their own. They can do whatever the hell they want, right? So then they can leverage their situation as much as they want to any publisher. Shit, it could be EA, right? Like if they wanted to, or Ubisoft if they wanted to,
right?
Which would feel weird, but still the same guys behind it. It's totally okay, right? In regards to that, so I see that being if they're free agents, that they can leverage those situations. There is stuff that's talked about in the public sphere to generate interest, and that is true within gaming. I just don't know exactly what that is in regards to that. So it'd be interesting to see if we'll see how all that stuff plays out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft picked them up. In regards
I wouldn't either.
I also wouldn't be surprised if Sony ended up with them. Like we haven't seen crap. I mean, they're around the E3 time. They didn't really show much, to be honest with you. They still haven't shown much in regards to that. So is maybe that he was thinking that if they sign something with Sony, and just for devil's argument, where did they sign up something with Sony and Sony didn't really do like the E3 showing they normally did, and so they pulled back and they're saving that for a later date? It's possible.
It's very possible. Right?
Do you think maybe hypothetically, like if Sony did do it, like would Sony decide to announce that after the Activision deal's done. Just
Oh
to
yeah,
kind of give it a little bit of that 1-2
yeah,
punch back.
yeah,
We can
yeah,
punch
yeah,
back,
yeah.
right?
We
Sort of
got
thing.
Bungie and we got NetherRealm Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I mean, even though to me the NetherRealm Studios for me personally would be huge, it is much bigger for me than Bungie. But yeah, that would be a huge get. But oh,
That'd be a huge
no
gift for
doubt,
it'd be
no
a huge
doubt.
gift for anybody. But I'm just saying, just in
Right,
general,
right.
like you can play the hypothetical game down a couple different routes. What it seems like it's obvious is who owns people that own NetherRealm are not the same people that own it now. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like they
right.
have new ownership. The question: who is that new ownership?
Who is that new owner?
It's interesting.
Right.
It's interesting.
It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
yeah, yeah.
well, okay. What would you rather them be independent or and you don't have to say the studio you would want them to be acquired by, or would you want them to be acquired by a studio? NetherRealm I'm talking about. So which one would you rather see them being in an independent role or being
I think
picked up by one of
independent
these
would
big
give them the
publishers?
most options. What they
I think so
showed,
too.
what they showed is they can do fighters for other things.
Right.
Other than Mortal Kombat, and so I think I called it just Justice League, but it's called Injustice.
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 Yeah.
It shows that they can take similar combat to Mortal Kombat, right?
Mhm.
Evolve it, kind of do their own thing with it, right? Because you feel the Mortal Kombat DNA in that game, right? Like you can feel it, right? But it's kind of its own thing, right? So it doesn't play like Mortal Kombat, but you feel that DNA that's there. So like, them being totally independent. I mean, shit. I mean that I know you're a fan of KI, so am I. But that can just say, you know what, we're independent.
Now you're talking you're talking my language.
We're independent. We can do KI.
Yeah.
Let's say Sony wanted to do a new fighter on their end. They can do it with Sony. They can do that and do Mortal Kombat, which is a cross-platform fighter,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So they can do it all. They have that. For them, they have that independence is I think good. I think honestly too, I know we're probably going to get into the whole KI thing, but the thing about I don't see anybody other than NetherRealm doing KI. Out of all the companies, KI has always had out of fighters, it's always had a very Western feel to it. Mm-hmm. As a fighter, like back in its early days when Rare was working on it, to what you're seeing now with the studios. There were the two studios that they went through on the Xbox One. And it's not to say the Japanese studio can't make a good KI. I'm not saying that or anything like that at all, but they're just something too. They're Western fighters feel different than
they have
Japanese and Japanese fighters, right? They have different philosophies behind their game making. So I have a strong feeling that it's really where I think, if you ask me what's the best contender for KI right now out of like well-known studios here in the US, it would be NetherRealm. I would like to see that, but I don't know if that we'll see it. Two different things. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let me read off these other studios that I didn't know what the hell they were. And then we'll get into the KI thing. Okay. So Limited Run Games, they make, I seen the advertisement for this new wrestling game. It's AEW Fight Forever. That's I think that's Ukes. That's a part of Ukes. So which was a beloved studio that worked Ukes or if I don't know if it's Ukes is a studio or if it's an engine. I can't remember which one is which, but Ukes worked. Ukes has been a part of the wrestling games from days past, and a lot of people loved those games being used on it. I think it's more of maybe an engine. I don't know. I can't. But there was this other game
about the wrestling genre.
But they're also doing Japanese games as well. So, and then one of the games that I was showing gameplay of, a lot of people was interested in. It was young. Oh man, come on now, I can't do it. Sword 7. Let me just put it like to say that. That's pretty interesting. So these are pretty much maybe a Japanese developer Tuxedo Labs is a mobile game. They like an indie studio. There's only like 2 or 3 people that works at the studio, but they work on mobile games. They're actually fairly new. And then Sing Tricks is a karaoke machine system. So uh but then on top of that, they picked up all the IPs from and all the properties from the Lord of the Rings, so and the Hobbit. So what I'm thinking that they're trying to do is be the next Disney. I think that's what they're trying to do. I really do. I think that's their goal. They just want to compete. They just want to do that, and then all the other stuff that they got. Now they got
They seem to
those
be very hands off,
Western
though.
Department.
That's what's
Yeah, no,
interesting. They're just like, yeah, you do your thing. We'll just front
Mhm.
you the money, and they seem to be
make it work.
yeah, they
Oh,
seem to be very hands off, which is very interesting.
okay, I'm just now reading this too. Now they are hands off until something messes up because from what I'm gathering from Jason Shire, I think that's how you say his name. He's saying the reports of Knights of the Old Republic remake, the issues. He said that they were that Embracer Group was so pissed off about it that they took it away. They revoked Asper's working on it, and they gave it to Saber Entertainment Interactive. So that game is so whatever that they worked on, that's scrapped.
They don't own Saber, do they?
It could be one of those things where I don't know. Let me see. I'm gonna find out. They could.
Because that's interesting. Because Saber, so a lot of people don't realize when people always talk about give everything back to Bungie sort of argument. Bungie gets split up a bunch of different ways over the years.
No. Embracer Group owns Saber Interactive.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So they just took it away from now.
Saber was originally started by ex Bungie guys.
I thought it was Asper that was the ex Bungie guy.
No, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of studios that people don't realize they were smaller at the time when they did it. It's between like Reach and before they all announced the 343 and the split off and all that sort of stuff. There's several different studios that split off. They were kind of unhappy for whatever different reasons. Saber Interactive has that history.
Oh, okay. So no, Asper is their own group, but which those are the Bungie guys too that they worked on the Knights of the Old Republic. But I guess it's just one of those things where it's kind of like what we're going to talk about with KI and what Maximilian was bringing up. Is that that Ember's group was like, you know what, here, you guys worked on this game, you go ahead and show us what you got. And obviously it seems like it is so bad that they were like, nah, man, we don't even want you to work on this game no more. We rather send it to one of our studios that we own. You don't have it anymore. Wow. That's crazy. So that game is not going to see the light of day for a very, 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 very long time.
I don't think it's going to see the light of day.
At all? Yeah.
Well, it's just complicated when you're working with Disney. And it's not a knock on Disney or anything like that, but especially when you're Star Wars franchise more so than any other franchise, working through Disney is a challenge because everything they release now, books, movies, posters, you name it, right? Toys, it all has to be part of the actual universe because they did that whole weird thing where they took anything that George Lucas had, right? And it wasn't part of the main storyline. They said the movies are part of the main storyline. That is it. And now they're basically building everything out from canon. So it includes video games now. All the video games have to be canon in regards to that. So it's a little bit harder to navigate. Does that make sense? So
yeah. That's man. That's crazy. Ember's group is making Embracer. I don't know why I keep calling them Embers. Embracer Group is making some crazy moves. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay, so let's get into the Killer Instinct aspect of this because when I said this on the video, right? Like if they're independent, and you've already said this. I don't because I know you said you was in and out on my video.
Mhm.
Um and but you said what I was thinking is that I don't know if uh unless NetherRealm is under is purchased by Xbox, that they would work on Killer Instinct fully. But if they're independent, I could definitely see Microsoft going to them and saying, or say Xbox going to them and say, "Hey, can you work on our story mode aspect? Our story mode, because nobody does a fighter story better than NetherRealm. Nobody. I mean, I've played some pretty damn good story modes, but nobody does it at the quality or the level that NetherRealm has done. Like it is impeccable. It's so damn good. 'Cause I don't know if you beat Mortal Kombat 11 story
Yeah.
or the DL. Did you beat the DLC too? The
I did.
Aftermath.
I've done 11 and 10 in Aftermath. I done all.
Okay,
done all,
okay.
So.
What did you think about those story modes?
No, they're good.
Okay,
and I would say Injustice was really good too.
Oh yeah, I
people,
forgot about it.
People underrate their, they don't. I don't know. But Injustice story mode was it's on the same note of what you're talking about. They're
yes
in a realm of their own. There's no doubt about that. Like they kind of showed like this is how you can do story in a fighter, right? Because it used to be like, remember the old Street Fighter days? Like they give a little bit of backstory, like in the owner's manual,
right,
and then they do some stupid quote in between the fights if you won or lost, and then that was the story mode back in the day, right? So they've evolved it, right? Like you played different characters and these characters are interwoven in this way. Sort of thing. So, I mean, I think anything they would do as a fighter, as a story new or KI would be good. But I don't see them hiring just for a story though.
Well, no, and that was my other point too. Was saying, look, I don't know if they're working on Killer Instinct, but if they are working on something that's different, new, fresh, like Ed Boon said. It could be KI versus or MK versus KI or KI versus MK, and that would be insane. That would be absolutely insane, and a genius move from Microsoft to have them make that game, and then getting into the point of what Maximilian was saying, which I know that you said you didn't agree. And the studio that he's thinking, because like you said, it's just hypothetical while he's throwing it out there. But having Killer Instinct 2 being made by a separate studio, could be amazing and really kick off Killer Instinct to be up in the upper echelon of fighters, because then you have two different sets. You have KI versus MK, then you have Killer Instinct 2 dropping eventually, and then you having it worked on by a Japanese studio or some other studio or something like that. I don't see Arc System Works. I know that they're the hottest thing out right now because graphically the way that their art style is beautiful. But I don't know if I would want Killer Instinct to have that look. I want Killer Instinct to keep the more Mortal Kombat look than I would for them doing that anime look and vibe. You see what I'm saying? So I know that Arc System Works are really good, but it's just like what you were saying, like the combo system on how KI is could Art do that.
I'm sure
and do it well. I don't know.
Like, could they do it? Yes. Do it well?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would yet to be seen. I mean,
right. There's not a lot of fighters like KI.
No. It's kind of a unique breed, but
yeah.
One of the key people that kind of started the whole combo system works directly at Microsoft. So whoever they talk with and whoever they work with, I don't think that's the DNA is still with Microsoft. Does that make sense? What I'm saying,
Right.
like the
Right.
the mastermind behind the whole combo system, and everything that has happened, he still works for Microsoft, and he was involved in the last KI, right? So like he's part of it. My thing is whoever they can have the best relationship with when it comes to KI. And that's my perspective, right? Like you take the most talented people in the world, but if you can't have that back and forth relationship where it's a net positive for both, then that's not good for the game. Does that make sense?
Right.
And Ed Boon has said he has a great love for KI.
Yes, he told me that personally.
He's open, and I've talked to the guy too, right? Like he likes KI.
Yes.
So you take somebody that always wanted to work on KI, that has the history of Ed Boon, it's been around as long as Ed Boon. That seems like a more winning combination to me.
Oh,
you have Microsoft being literally in their backyard, vice versa. So you can have that really good, strong relationship in regards to that. And then the thing about Ed Boon too, as well, is he's been doing it so long.
Right.
He has more weight of introducing new shit to the franchise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like for example, say Microsoft's like, I don't see it. It's like, but we trust you, Ed, right? Like he's that type of personality. And even if he's just the mouthpiece for say somebody that that works under him, but he can present it in a way I think that can propel that franchise even further forward. In regards to that. So, if you ask me, they seem like a better fit. If there's a possibility.
Oh yeah, no, there's no doubt. Like now, Maximilian says that NetherRealm is not working on it at all. He's actually gone, and I have heard these rumors as well, but it wasn't for Killer Instinct. It was for Microsoft want to make their own type of brawler, which is because I keep making the mistake saying arena. Arena is not an arena fighter. Arena fighter is more like Naruto and stuff like that. A brawler is
no, it's a Smash Brothers
and Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it's a Smash Brothers style fighter.
Yeah. So from the rumors that I was gathering is that they are talking to Project Soul, which are the makers of Smash Brothers and the makers of Soul Calibur, to work on an Xbox version of Brawler, which I think would be a huge, massive success because Project Soul it knows how to make those type of games. Of course, look at Smash Brothers, and then it's just all the things that Microsoft has acquired. Look at all those IPs that they can put into that game.
You can have everything from
success.
You can have Doom Guy. You can have Master Chief. You can have Cortana. You can have. I mean, that's just the basics. You can have crossover KI characters in there.
Right.
You can have what is it, the block looking character from Minecraft in there. You can
right, because they got those characters in Smash Brothers. They got the Minecraft characters in Smash.
Yeah, you can put it in there. They can put Banjo-Kazooie in there. They can put they have the roster if they wanted to.
They have the roster, and then of course after this Activision deal is over, man, just think they put Soap from COD in there, or just the other popular characters from Crash Bandicoot. Like, I mean, it would be nuts.
You can easily
it could be nuts.
They could easily release a brawler with 15 unique characters and have DLC for days to come when it comes to characters. Days to come.
Yes.
So that would be interesting. That'd be interesting because here's the thing. Multiverse brought up is no one's really been able to challenge Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
they kind of been in the place of their own. I mean, there's been attempts, but nothing that really has been able to go toe to toe with it. And to be honest with you, so it is an untapped genre of fighter that no one's really paying attention to, and they're kind of leaving Nintendo to their own on that. And I think there's potential with certain companies to be able to make something like that with the right talented behind it, and that would be fundamentally key. But it would be unique. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I mean, if you ask me if I'm more excited about a brawler or am I more excited about KI, I'm more excited about KI.
Oh yeah, I'm more excited about KI
Yeah,
by far. But
for
I
sure.
mean, just the fact what Max was saying about that Microsoft has gone to going to Namco Bandai, and it's like, hey, find us a studio that can work on Killer Instinct. I don't think that I know that the relationship has gotten tight between Bandai and Namco and Xbox, but I just don't. I think it's for the the brawler that Xbox wants, and not KI. I think that it's like what you said. Want somebody that is more familiar with that look and style, which would be Ed Boon, and which would be NetherRealm. I think that's just it's perfect because I mean that just screams it. But
Well,
I don't know,
I mean,
man.
I can see
in a perfect world, it all would work. But
I
I
mean,
we'll see.
who knows? I mean, I can see Ed Boon fighting for the opportunity to make that game. Like that's where I see it. So the question is, NetherRealm's the one to look into. Like, if you take from the conversation, regardless of us interjecting our what we would like, right? Take that out of the equation, right?
Yeah.
There's something going on in NetherRealms.
Yeah.
Right. There's pieces of the chessboard that are moving at NetherRealms. The question is, what is it? So keep an eye out. It could be a Sony thing. It could be a Microsoft thing. It could be a totally independent thing. But if you follow gaming, you should be curious of what's going on over there, if that makes any sense.
And just Warner Brothers, period. Like, I mean,
yeah, there's pieces on the puzzle they're moving with Warner Brothers because there's a lot of restructuring going on there. Let's just call it what it is. Yeah. And so they're kind of looking at what they're going to keep, what they're going to sell, what they just need to uproot and start over. In regards to that, the whole movie division is interesting. I've been watching what they've been doing on that, and they got one of the key guys that helped the MCU become the MCU. Now works over at Warner Bros. On the entertainment side of things, and he was kind of the finance man, showing you how to trust in the process and let it build up the way it did. And then now he's working over at Warner Brothers, right? And he's making similar moves. So it'd be interesting to see what they do on the game side of things. They might say, you know what, game's profitable, but we just don't understand the business, right?
Right.
So they're establishing it's profitable and they cash out. Just because something's profitable doesn't mean people don't cash out on their investment too, right?
That's
so
what I'm saying.
So there's that aspect of things too. People, you just need to kind of keep that in mind. And there's definitely people buying, right? There's these studios that kind of letting them know, hey, you got cash? How you doing?
yeah. What's up? How you doing?
How you doing? Right? So that's definitely happening. So yeah, I would just keep an eye out what's going on there. Obviously, they're a very talented group. They've built that studio over a long period of time in regards to that. And if you're console eccentric, there might be a good chance that if you love their games, you may have to switch over to one console or the other. I mean, that's just harsh reality, or play it on PC. So
that would be, yeah. Now, okay, so if let's just hypothetically, let's just say that let's say PlayStation got a hold of NetherRealm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they would still allow Mortal Kombat to be a multi-plat, or they would keep it exclusive?
No, they would go full exclusive.
That would hurt. What about Microsoft? You think that Microsoft would play nice?
Same thing.
Oh, you think Microsoft would play nice?
Yeah. The thing is, it's the same format, right? Like if it's a new product, it's going to be exclusive on their platforms.
Oof.
Both Sony and Microsoft.
Wow.
That's what. If it's if it's I would say it's a little bit more up there.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. If it was like, say for example, a pre-existing title, right? Like let's say they got the rights to all the Mortal Kombats, but they have older Mortal Kombats that are still out there. They're not going to pull. I don't see Microsoft pulling it off Sony's platform, right? Like they're not pulling 10 or 11 off there or off their store. But the new whatever, let's say, rebirth of Mortal Kombat, which is kind of how they set up the story. They can just start it all over again.
You're right. It's starting all over. Yeah,
it's starting all over again. where they just call it Mortal Kombat. I can see them just saying, "Hey, you know what? It's on."
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because they're ending, and now it ain't going to be Liu Kang who's going to be the main protagonist. It's going to be Kung Lao. So yeah, that's crazy. So
yeah, so I mean, there's just something to think about. I just don't, and it's not like trying to be a jerk or anything like that. That they invest in the money, they bought the thing for a reason. In regards to that, and they're not being mean to other gamers, and they'll only be mean if they took it off the platform, right? And what I mean by taking off, I mean it already exists. There's a number associated with it. It's a 10 or 11 or prior to that, and they take it off the platform. That's where I don't see Microsoft doing. But when it comes to a whole new version of the game, I think you're going to see that format across the board on Microsoft. If it's a whole new game and it's not continuous, it's not something that already exists on the other thing. It's a new game. I think it can be, and maybe Microsoft will use it as a bargaining chip for other things down the road. We'll see. In regards to that, but I also see Sony doing something similar. In regards to that.
I could definitely see Sony locking it down for exclusive. I mean, I see
them both doing it for sure.
Right. Well, I don't see Microsoft doing it in the sense of, because Game Pass could what I'm saying, they'll still win because of Game Pass, and then they'll kind of be like the Call of Duty situation. But I think it may be only just from my perspective, because I feel that legacy titles that were that were multiplat should stay multiplat, like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken. Those games should be should remain to be multiplat. That's just my thought process on it. Now, of course, business is business. If you're spending the money, I totally get it for whoever gets it. If that's that, unless they're EA or
is things really not. Well, if you think about it, are things really not that accessible? In this doesn't matter if Sony or Microsoft.
That's not true. Yeah, I mean, because if I didn't have a PlayStation, I could get it on PC or I could get it on something else or whatever.
Yeah. So let's say Microsoft did it, right? And we'll play both devil's advocate right here. Let's say Microsoft did it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You could stream it. No overhead cost of that. So you don't want to buy an Xbox console, you still play the game, right? you can get it on PC.
Yeah.
Or you can get multiple versions of their consoles, right? Different price points. So the barrier to entry is up to you as a gamer. You go with free to whatever you want to spend, right?
Right.
So it's not like by them doing an exclusive on what Xbox platform is these days, it's not like it's really taking it away from gamers. Does that make sense? It's really it's not in that same. And then let's look at how Sony's evolving. They're doing stuff more on PC. Right. They have a streaming service too as well, right? Like, and that's going to evolve. And, I know people are going to draw the comparisons, but you get the general idea. They can do the same thing, and it really is not taken away from gamers. If you really are,
if you really want the game, you're going to get it. Yeah,
there's multiple ways to get the game very low, anything from a very low entry barrier. If they allow the streaming aspect on different platforms and all that sort of stuff for that particular game, then that opens the door for anything, right? You can open a door for PC, you can open a door for the console. And so when you start thinking about when it's exclusive to these ecosystems, it's not really taken away from gamers in regards to that. So it is very, very interesting where we're going to going forward on this. But I just don't see the next, if NetherRealm has been purchased and it's been purchased by even the major platform providers, I don't see them making it available to everyone else.
Okay, that's a very interesting point. You know what I'm saying, and then I agree with mostly everything you said. For sure.
It's a different way of thinking, right? I mean that.
Yeah. No, I could see. I could definitely see it. Like, I mean, I just would feel like Microsoft would be, but again, I also feel Microsoft is over here wolfing tickets as well about Call of Duty. Is that like, we'll honor our contract, but when that's, like you said, when the series continuous is over, when
it's a new version,
Warzone,
when Warzone's continuous, they just kind of innovate, but all of a sudden they release a new story content that's totally brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be surprised when it doesn't end up on the other platform. Don't be surprised.
Don't be surprised. Oh my goodness. Anyway, all right. So let's move on to talk about all these discretions that's happening in the industry. Like, I mean, they've been happening for a long time, but
Yeah.
I mean, we was talking about a little bit on Wilmy's podcast. And it's crazy because we definitely know that this has been going on for a long time, but man, it's hit Nintendo now. Like, there's people that's suing Nintendo for discrimination. There's all these allegations of people harassing women, people being a little bit forceful on women, things like that. Of course, the whole Ubisoft crazy stuff. There's people getting allegedly raped. So it's nuts, right? So then you got
Okay.
of course
keep listing the allegations.
I keep saying allegations. Yeah, because I can't say if it's true or not. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then also of course with the Riot Games, all of their situations that's happened.
Mhm.
And then the list goes on. It goes to Naughty Dog. Also the Xbox studio that they picked up with State of Decay. What is that? Undead Labs. I think that's the name of that studio.
Mhm.
Like they had issues. And of course, the big one, which is Activision, all of that crazy stuff out there. Like, give me your perspective. I mean, I have a thought process on it.
Why does it keep coming up? I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
Why has this not been checked for so long? I understand that of course, that there was things were different in the 90s, early to maybe to the 2010s, but I mean we're in a situation now where this stuff should have been nipped in the bud a long time ago. There's been women that's been working in the workforce for I don't know how many decades now, generations actually. And so why is it that women are still getting harassed, or people that's a part of the I don't know, I can't even say those letters like that, LGBTQ, I think I said that right, community being harassed? Why is it that all these people are still being harassed to this degree at this point in time, when there shouldn't be any of this going on? What's going on? Why is it like this?
This devolving, right? Like,
Yeah.
We grew up in different areas in the United States. I grew up in like a for the most part, post-sexist, post-racist, LGBTQ. Like, no one cared. Like, people just lived their life and they did their thing. And there was occasional outliers. I'm not saying it didn't exist or anything like that, but those people were typically shunned. They weren't given the time of day. Now I also live north of the Bay Area as well, so there's a little bit of that as well. But I do have a theory on why you keep seeing this in the industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you kind of hinted at it. I don't think you intentionally did, but it's not the 80s and 90s, but the problem started with the 80s and 90s. So put it this way. So we've all known, I kind of look back at the era when we were going in high school, like similar ages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all know the trope of like the nerdy kid was always the person that you saw back 5 years from later, and he was the rich person with the driving with the Ferrari, right? We know that trope. That was kind of the thing, right? And the nerds were the outcast, right? They're the ones that were picked on. They were the ones rejected by women, rejected by their male peers as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And game development became this safe haven where they did their own thing. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so you have this huge group of people there, and I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just listing like the course of events that I think that's leading up to this sort of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a big against anyone's being a bully on either side. You know what I mean? And
Right.
If I agree with you or not about something, it doesn't matter. Being a bully, there's no reason for that, especially in the workplace. That doesn't get work done, and it doesn't give you mutual respect across the board, no matter what your background is, right? So
How tough you act.
yeah, so you have this group of people that are a little bit social outcast. They get a little bit of they're all of a sudden in a doing something they're really into, which is computers, right? Like, doesn't matter if you were programming in high school, you were a nerd. You were probably getting beat up. You were getting beat up.
Yeah,
you were getting picked on. Girls would make fun of you. You were not getting anyone's number, and you were lucky you got 5 words out to a girl, right? Like, you're a social outcast, right? And so now you start getting social acceptance by people that had similar experiences as you, right? You don't develop the skill set to interact with females. You don't develop the skill set to interact with these people that may have been bullies in high school, right? You don't develop that, right? Because you were denied that, right?
Right.
In regards to that. So, what do you think? How do you think that affects the psyche of when they finally start talking to a woman, or they engage in a woman,
or they're getting chased by a woman at this point because they got money, they got status.
Exactly. Right? So they don't have those real life experiences. It becomes less human, right? Becomes a little bit more lesser than, right? Because people sometimes act out because of how they've been treated. It's just how it is, right? And so that's what started the game industry. Love it or hate it, that's what started the game industry. Now, some people have grown out of that sort of stuff, but some of those people were permanently scarred from that sort of stuff, right? And then so they act out in a certain way. So now you get women, for example, in just chain of events, right? Now, well, I should say, it's now socially acceptable to like games, right? So therefore, you get more women being interested in games. Fair. As far as I'm concerned, we're welcome to work in it, in the game industry. Anyone that's talented, I want them working. I want to work with the best people, right? So then you have people that get into power that've been in the industry for a long time. They don't develop those social skills, right? They create an environment that starts treating other people lesser than. These are the people they've been rejected by. They act out in that certain way, and they create an atmosphere. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Now you get women to work in the atmosphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get treated a certain way, and they feel it's totally unfair, which it is, right? But then you also get some women that embrace it, and they start carrying that same attitude towards the opposite sex themselves as well. Right? So it becomes this contagious type thing. Okay, well, what happens when they leave that particular studio? They take it with them. Right? So this is, I hate to say it, it's a stain on our generation, how we treated people in the high school sort of thing. Like, I was on the receiving end of it. Like, before I became the fine chiseled man that I am today, I was scrawny. Like, I couldn't hold a fight. There's no way. And I didn't know how to engage with girls. I learned that obviously in college and stuff like that, and I finally learned how to work out properly and became an athlete and stuff like that. So, I kind of saw both sides of the fence with this interest of making video games. It has always been a goal of mine. So, but I never got into the studios in those early days. It was later on in life. Right? So I'm seeing the aftermath of all this sort of stuff and people acting inappropriately in the workplace. And what's interesting is sometimes you get a lot of people, there's a lot of people like to stand on a soapbox about things, and sometimes they're the ones that are most guilty of it sometimes.
Oh,
right. We've seen it, right? Yeah. And you start seeing that with a lot of these studios, right? But some of these people just have this history, this dark history that exists out there in regards to that. And sometimes they're trying to cover it up. So this is an industry that was built upon the backs of the disenfranchised male gamer. Love or hate it, that's what happened. And because of how those people were treated, they repeated the bad behaviors going forward. Does that make sense? They didn't stop it with them, but they repeated it. And because they repeated it, then now it's being passed on generationally to other people that may not live through that experience. But now they get into the real world and they're like, oh, I guess this is how the real world it's got to be, right? In regards to that. And some people are just not putting up with the shit, which is fine in regards to that. And then you have the issues with certain people look at these sort of situations where they can play the victim card to get ahead too, as well. And so it creates this mess of who's really going through things, who's not really going through things, right? And it's a perpetual problem. This is why kind of like when I looked at the Activision thing and Microsoft buying them, like cool and all, and they say they won't put up with that stuff, right? But how are they going to clean house of years and years of indoctrination unintentionally? It's a big mess. It's a huge mess.
Huge.
And there's a reason why you keep hearing it from all these different studios. So that's my theory in regards to that. It's really hard to prove, but you can kind of see where my logic is and see what's going on there. And
oh yeah, no,
what's the genesis?
My language. Yeah, no, I mean it's crazy how, I mean we are 100% in line of what you were saying. I said that not as articulate, but saying the same thing pretty much. I mean, because of course, like you were saying, like if you was considered a nerd, you was going to get harassed in one way, shape, or form. So
I got real fast. I got real fast.
See, yeah, like, and I mean, the one thing that got me through it is because I played sport.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm, football player, basketball player, wrestler, baseball player, because
you were the in crowd.
Did a little track. Yeah, that's in crowd. And so it was crazy because when you're talking about playing NBA Live or Bill Walsh football at that time, or even Madden, Joe Montana's football. It had to be a sports game or Blades of Steel. It had to be sport.
It was accepted. You weren't in that part of that crew. You weren't that rejected group of people. And so
you might get looked at a little sideways, by certain people about like, man, you play that stuff? Oh yeah, I play it. But ain't nobody gonna say nothing to you because I mean, I'm in high school, I'm 210, 15 pounds and I'm chiseled. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so like you ain't gonna say too much of anything. So it's like, so that's,
they're
that's the thing.
They're gonna pick on the malnourished version of me. Right. And I don't talk about it.
Right.
I can't really talk about it because I know where that's going to lead to. Even if if you weren't going to get beat up, it was ostracized, right? There was that aspect of it. So
ridiculed,
for sure.
So that was the thing too. Is like, I mean, I'm saying, like being an athlete at that time, I'm saying, very far from, but but it comes to the point of where that was my past. That was my past of getting away from not being harassed by people. And even then, sometimes when I would sit there and like, if I would be in a group of talking about like a certain, I remember I was talking about a certain game. What was that game? Good grief. Wasn't Final Fantasy, Wild Arms. I was talking to some another gamer about Wild Arms. And I remember, and this was when I was in college. I was talking because the PlayStation, because that was the first RPG that JRPG I ever played.
Okay, so it was in college.
Yeah, this was in college. And I remember I was talking to somebody about it, and we were just all in talking about the game. And then there was this dude that was like, man, you play that dumb shit. You play that. You know, a big kid, you in college, and you over here doing it as grown as you. I'm like, man, if you don't get the hell out of my face with all that, man, bro, I ain't talking to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care about what you, and that's another thing too, is that where you was making the point of like you saying men, and you know what I'm saying? The fact of it is that like it was a lot of white men, and you look at Nintendo, you look at the Japanese men, there's not a lot of people of color, and if there's people of color, they're getting shunned by their own because they're nerds or they're gamers.
Oh yeah, like, so if you talk about the disparity that happens in the development, a lot of it was social. Right, it was social. It was social norms that people. It wasn't cool, right? You see that in sports, right? Like certain sports with certain ethnic backgrounds are popular versus others.
Because look at Tiger Woods, it took a lot of black people to accept him being in playing golf because of golf's history.
His own peers.
He became his own peers looked at him like, man, you sellout ass dude. But that's kind of the same thing.
We were in a party when there was a hockey player, and we were in a group, and everyone's going to stay anonymous, but like I remember. And I'm like, I'm like, just let the man. He's free. Let the man do what the hell he wants. Like, you know, like I got you. Like there's some cultural things with everybody, right? But like, but you know, it doesn't. The whole point of being free is you can do what you want, right?
Right. And you can be who you want to be. Right.
Be who you want to be, right? So, you know, I mean, but you talk about the disparity that happens in the industry. It's not because, you know, I mean, like certain key people probably don't care. They don't care what your background is. You're talented, whatever. Like if you're in business, you know, you understand business, right? It's the people that hold on to power that they don't look at it from a business perspective. They look at it from...
they got victimized, like you're saying.
Yeah, they victimize and they repeat it, right? And so then you get this kind of this weird sort of misconduct. And that's the reason why I say, like, you know, you can't just transport X number of this person or that person into a studio and it fixes the problem. It's so ingrained. It's not saying you can't fix the issue. You just got to be... It's going to take time, and you just got to be open for people to be able to apply, right?
That's it.
Because there's a whole stigma if someone gets into a job because they fall in a particular category too, as well. And then that comes in a whole nother different type of issue, right? You're perpetuating the problem, right? So it's sad though that people can't just apply to a job, get the job, do their work and go home. Like, you know, like it's ridiculous. But you know, there's a reason why I think you're seeing it typically, you know, on the West Coast of things. They're the biggest offenders, and there's a reason why you see it on studios that've been around the longest. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not seeing these same issues at newer pop-up studios. Does that make sense? Unless they hire a lot of veterans, which, you know, that could bring the problems on over. But I think that's what it is, and it sucks. It's a stain on the industry, and it's more prevalent. I hear about it all the time. I don't tell you about all of them, but you know I know about a lot of them.
Well, yeah, no, you was on the Activision stuff well before anybody started talking about it. Like
4 years?
Nah, because I was asking like. Because I was like, man, why would you not want to go work at this company or that company? And you like, nah, bro, nah.
I kept it vague too. I didn't tell you. Just like, but just like,
too much. Nah, too much stuff going on. That's all you would say. So I was like, okay, well.
And now you know.
I get it. Yeah, now and then it comes out, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, bro is not lying. So yeah, but no, that's the thing too. I think that's the problems that we have all together. Because look, I mean, there's not a lot of black people in Japan, and then of course when you know, and there's I don't think that there's a lot of female developers out there, especially not in the 90s and in early 2000s.
Not in the early days.
Yeah, not in the early days at all.
But in the last 5 years or so, that's blown up quite a bit.
Right, and that's why, like, when you look,
that's where you start seeing all the problems.
The depictions of people of color and how they because they don't understand, because they're not around people like that. And then of course the other problems within. So when they do start hiring women, like you just said, like you hit it. I'm not going to repeat everything that you said because I'm letting you have that because we think the same way. Like we've been through it. And then that's what we was talking about on Wilmie's podcast last night, was that how it used to be then. Like the younger generation, these kids or these younger people,
they just don't know.
Understand.
They'll never know.
Don't know what it was like.
Yeah, it's not their fault too.
Walk around in a Dragon Ball Z shirt, or at that time a Transor Z shirt, or the Voltron shirt.
Listen here.
Get your ass beat, bro. Your teachers would treat you different. You would be asked if you were on drugs or something if you was wearing something like that.
You or me showed up to E3 wearing a Silk Dragon shirt or a Tiger shirt. One of us would slap the other one up at the back of the head. Get that shit off. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
It's that generation. Like that's what.
Right. You can't go to school dressed up like Naruto or Sasuke. What's wrong with you?
If we're gonna hang out at E3, you can't be wearing that shit.
No, hey, bro. No.
That's how that would go.
I told you chinchilla without no shirt once, because when I get the body right, I'm gonna be ready. But then, you ain't gonna fuck with me then. But other than that, but a silk shirt with a tiger on it, bro, it's not happening. Or I'm wearing some kind of crazy you know, anime hair or something like that. Bro, it's not happening, bro. You would get, man, people would get hurt. They would get actually physically beat down
Yeah, people
for
that
doing stuff like
yeah,
that.
like
People
I remember
don't know
seeing
what it
kids
was.
getting chased.
Nerds had it
I remember seeing
bad.
kids getting chased in the hallway, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
exist. I don't exist.
Yeah,
I didn't talk to that girl. I didn't do any of that stuff.
What you want, Briggs? What you...
So I mean, and I think, but that has an out. That has a there's an aftermath effect to that. Is what I guess is what we're trying to say here, right? And I'm not trying to give any sort of excuses. But it is the.
Can you see his big head up here?
No, I can't see his head yet.
Can't see him. Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, I mean, I'm not trying to give anyone excuses, but you have to acknowledge what's going on for you to be able to start addressing the actual root problem and issue that's going on.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Oh no, makes sense.
So
yeah, now that's so deep rooted. So it's going to take.
It sucks. It sucks. It's the reason why I would never wanted to work at a studio in the Bay Area, or let's say L.A. Like, because those studios have been around, or those people have been around for so long, right? It's so ingrained in regards. I just don't want to navigate all that water. I just want to make games. I don't care about someone's background. I just don't care. Maybe then people find that insensitive, but it's none of my business to care. The only thing I care about is, can you deliver the talent? Can you get along with somebody? If we can do those two things, we're cool. We're friends, as far as I'm concerned, right? So, but yeah, there's a lot of cleanup in industry, and I really feel it's one of those.
It's getting out in the open, which is that's a start.
It helps. I think it does shine a little bit of sunlight on it.
And you start punishing, getting rid of the people that allow these things to continue to happen. Mm-hmm. Slowly but surely, then there'll be a change. But it's just like you said, like we both.
They're going to age out. But my concern is, like, okay, the worst offenders. They're like, okay, I'm going to retire next year, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the aftermath of those worst offenses linger on, and they don't linger on to just one side or the other. Does that make sense? It goes across the board, right? Because then it becomes more of a power trip. Then it becomes, all these other sort of things, and they adopt those sort of things because that is their environment. That's how they get ahead in that environment in some cases. It's unfortunate.
Problem too. Yeah, it's another problem too, though, when you see a person that has money and stature like Bobby Kotick and others. It is unfortunate that when people do things that are criminal or that allow type of things, like, they don't get punished harshly enough. Like, I mean, yeah, this man is probably going to lose out on a lot of money, but this man's going to he's getting paid by Microsoft to go ahead and to sit down and stay.
He'll live better than anyone that watches this podcast or anyone else.
Exactly. So that to me is that, like, if you start really regulating the punishment, even if regardless of how powerful these people may be or how much stature they have within these certain elitists, the problem is that these people need to be held accountable. Like, if me or you did anything like that,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, we're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? We're just in trouble.
We're in a different boat, right? Like,
right. That's the thing. Because I think even with the Evo situation, I don't think that man went to prison. So
I try to avoid that because I
don't have to look that up.
I heard how disgusting it was, and I would just like,
it was awful.
Awful. Yeah, that's a whole nother realm. That's a different thing than what we're talking about. It's wrong, but it doesn't fall into this category of why we're seeing these prevalent issues like we're seeing.
Harassment compared to
misconduct
almost, but horrible misconduct. But but I'm just saying though, but because of his stature or whatever, like, I need to go and I need to check it out because I think he might have got arrested or. I don't know if he did or not though, but regardless, but see what was crazy though, the woman that was a Evo fighter for Smash Brothers, she that was talking to an underage boy, she went to jail So if she can go to jail, then so should the head
Well,
of Evo.
that's
So should
that's
probably
shit
go
how
Jack
law
Miller,
all
since they're
laws
doing
work.
stuff like that.
All laws
should
should
work
be
equally.
applied equally,
Right.
and that's
Equally.
and that's
Right.
when you have people that are disenfranchised. Let's call it that, right?
Mhm.
Disenfranchised. That's when people get pissed. People get pissed
Yeah.
when something is not treated in the same fairness of the other, right? Like regardless of
Right.
what side you want to take about arguments that exist out culturally out there in the world, it comes down to is if someone's not being treated fairly on one side or the other, people raise a big stink, and that's when people start crying foul, and that's when people start getting upset. In regards to that. So absolutely, everything needs to be applied equally, but then it's also the same thing, like everyone's innocent until proven guilty, right?
True.
In regards to that. So
stuff is alleged right now at this time.
yeah, and that comes down to the other thing, and like, and that may sound unsensitive, but anyone that's, I would hate anyone to be a victim, right? But if anyone that's unfortunately a victim, you need to keep records.
We need to keep it real though too, because let's just say that we were talking about this and we didn't say alleged, and then and then the person, let's just say somebody sent watched the video or watched our stream,
we name a certain name, a person,
and then we get in a lawsuit or something because you didn't say allegedly, you made me look like this and that, so then it's like defamation and no, allegedly. I'm not trying to
I mean, all of it's allegedly on our part, but everyone's also innocent until proven guilty. So I'm always going to side with actual victims, people that have been victimized, right? Like, and people that have been victimized, and this may sound unsensitive to people that are doing it, but you have to keep records. You have to keep track of this sort of stuff, because that sort of thing prevents you from being a worse victim. That sort of thing protects other people from being victims and going through similar experiences as you. And I'm not saying those things you're going through are right, but you have to protect yourself in that sense. And that is not something that's communicated, right? In regards to that, usually it's always comes to this boiling hell where someone's mistreated to a point where they had enough, right? Well, but now you can't take the proper actions to address the issue. Does that make sense? Right. So do what you can to protect yourself. Just keep proper records in regards to that, and go forward from there. And I hate to say it, it's going to take time in regards to that. And then just stand behind your principles if you're an individual working in the industry. Like if something's wrong, something's wrong. Don't perpetuate it, right? Don't become part of that culture. You may feel uncomfortably not be part of what the in crowd is at that particular studio, but your job is to do your job and also treat your fellow coworkers with respect more than trying to fit in.
Oh yeah.
And
totally
I think sometimes people forget about that sort of stuff, and that's how sometimes people also get caught up in it too. So
yeah, and then my last point on this is that but this is with every job. This isn't just with gaming or whatever. It's the networking situation, because of the fact that somebody knows somebody else, that even if that person did do all that, because the industry is still not policed properly, that this is the reason why we have people that quit, and then they can never recoup or work at another certain get a big role again or whatever, because of the fact that because of that whole good old boy system. Like, oh yeah, that person, I can't trust them. They're a troublemaker. And that to me should never get looked that way if a person is being harassed or discriminated or whatever. It should be like, okay, well, maybe this person we see the work that we've heard and seen about the work that they can do. They're qualified. Now we just need to see if they're a troublemaker, and if this is only just one incident and something like that, then let's hire them on. But because of that system, and like I said, it's with all types of jobs.
Well, it goes both ways. So people,
it goes everywhere.
So people fly under the radar, right? There's those people that are not held accountable, that are, let's go beyond accused. So let's assume they're a person that has done those things, right? But they go under the radar, right? And then they just keep moving on. And then there's the people that unfortunately, and this is the other side of the coin, being one that one wants to talk about, but it is the other ugly side of the coin. It does exist, is that people also get falsely accused for people to
Right.
get ahead in the industry as well,
yeah.
and
That's
that's
true.
that's equally as bad, right? Like
yeah.
in regards to that, and unfortunately, people lie. People lie on both sides, and that is the bullshit thing that exists. And so what happens is you get victims on both sides, and then it becomes this thing where people butt heads about it, right? And versus just trying to seek out the truth and trying to uproot the actual problem, deweed the people that don't need to be in that garden. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's unfortunate, and sometimes it's not like, it's like the little things, right? It's the little things that people pick up that ends up being the culture of the studio, and then that sort of thing, and then it becomes a problem down the road, right? And it's those little things that lead up to bigger infractions, right? So the little things don't require HR, right? But the things that it leads to may, right? And so I don't know. It's one part of the industry that makes me genuinely like sad, because it's not something. Just like any victim, I'm sure they're sick of it too, right?
Yeah.
More so than I am. But just seeing all that sort of stuff, it just doesn't help anybody. It's unfortunate.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So, but hopefully people have a little bit better understanding. And to me, it's just a theory what's going on and where this all kind of stems from. But it's the only thing that makes any sense to me. So,
yeah. All right, last topic before we gotta get out of here. Got to get ready for the next podcast here in a bit. The delay situation. Okay, so today there was another delay. They said that the game was still coming out this year on the 13th of December, but it is delayed, and that is High on Life.
okay.
Also, of course, my most anticipated game next to God of War. But now since God of War is going to be $70, it's not my most anticipated because I'm going to have to wait for the price to go down. Is Midnight Suns. I was really, really hyped for Midnight, but that got delayed until
Why am I
2023.
drawing a blank? What's Midnight Suns?
Midnight Suns is the game that had all the Marvel characters. It was it was set in a okay. You
I know
remember
it's
the
Midnight
game
Suns is a
XCOM,
Marvel
right?
thing, but it's a Marvel game about it.
Yeah, it's a game talking about it, and it's
Did they ever show it?
Yeah, they showed it. Yeah,
Did I just totally space and missed it?
Yeah, because I mean, it's not
Okay.
it's not a like a action type of game like that. It's like XCOM.
Okay. Okay, so it's a tactical.
It's a tactical strategy game, but
Okay.
it's got it's talking about that the Midnight Suns, and man, I'm like,
So
oh
that could
my
make
God,
sense
can't
why
wait
I
to get
brushed over it, because it's not my typical
it's not
style game.
your cup of tea.
Yeah,
So
gotcha.
but yeah, that was mine. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm buying Ultimate Edition, a Shut Up Edition, and let's get to it. But it got delayed until next year. Of course,
Okay.
Harry Potter, the other game that I was looking forward to, that got delayed. So what do you think about all these delays? Like, I mean, this is I mean, we've been dealing with delays, but this seems like a really, really crazy year with it. I think more
How long
so
are the
than we've ever
delays?
seen. All these games are slated to come out next year.
So like
The
a
only
couple
game that I
months.
know of-
It's delayed for a couple months.
Yeah,
6
like
months.
Forspoken. Yeah, Forspoken got delayed, and that won't come out until
What's
January.
What's the time frame? Like, how much are these games being delayed? Is what I'm asking.
Okay, so the games that I just mentioned, all of those are coming in October, and they're coming out between January and May. I mean January and March.
So it's under a
of next
6 month
year.
window.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There's another game that the Game Pass game, the Warhammer.
Oh, I was looking forward to that one actually.
Yeah, that got delayed too.
Okay.
That was supposed to be coming out in September, but that got delayed. So I mean, the Avatar game, the big time Avatar game that was from Ubisoft, that got delayed until next year.
And High on Life is delayed till next year.
It's delayed until December 13th.
Oh, so it's still in the same year, but it's delayed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there was another game that was delayed, but it got delayed until December as well. I can't remember what the name of that game was, but yeah. But I mean, it seems like every week we have at least 2 or 3 games that's getting delayed,
Okay.
and this is more than I've ever seen. But what do you think about that? Like, is this a black eye for the industry as a whole, or what?
I think it's a course correction, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think we were pushing things out, not quite fully baked yet, too much in the industry, and there was a lot of pushback from gamers, right? Because you would hear gamers complain about things not being ready when they have them. And I think eventually when sales drop and when people start looking at that sort of stuff, people change finally the word gets across, right? They have to take care of something,
right? Yeah.
Right? Like it's starting to cost them a little too much. And so, yeah, I think this is a course correction from companies releasing products not mature enough for the general public. You have the issue of no one wants to be the studio with crunch right now because of bad press. Does that make sense?
Right.
And then you remove crunch from the equation. You used to calculate your releases based on that. You used to release products underbaked, right? And now you're course correcting on that because you want good publicity for your product that lasts the lifetime of the product. I think these are all repercussions of that, to be perfectly honest with you. And then you add the fact that most of these games are still being, even though it's similar architecture as the previous consoles, I think a lot of these studios are still developing their first game on these set of consoles and what the target performance is, and then that also has effect on that as well. So all these things cost time, money, and then you also have a shortage of people in the industry. That's a problem. People are not talking about it. Like the Jason Schreiers of the world are not talking about it. The reason why I know, because I always try to get hired for contract work. I'm turning down jobs like left and right because there is such a shortage in the industry. Does that make sense? More so than I ever have. So you have all those things combined. I think they lead to delays, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a black eye. It's less of a black eye than them releasing it and having it be half baked.
The game broken.
Yeah, because I think you can push gamers so far to the point where you lose their trust and they don't come back to you. Does that make sense? And it's more damaging. It's not just about coming back to your product. It's coming back to gaming in general. Right? There's some people that get fed up to that point. It prevents that. So I think this is a good course correction, and I'm glad to see it. One of the games I wanted, right, it wasn't the Midnight Suns, but it was High on Life. I wanted to play that. It was delayed. Sucks to hear, but I'd much rather have that than a repeat of things not being polished or finished. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or cancellations. Yeah.
Or cancellations. I mean, I'd be okay if that game was delayed 6 months. Sucks. But I'd much rather have a 6-month delay and have a memorable experience when I play something than the other way around. So.
No, I totally agree. Totally agree. All right. Well, I mean, I when I hear people say that, and then they're so, and like I said, like I'm not trying to be the person to say that people can't be disappointed, because it is disappointing. But it's just like what you were saying, if like I've said a million times as well, it's like, look, man, we always bring up the point of, man, these games aren't finished. They're not complete. Why do you want to bring this game? Why do you want to take my hard-earned money and launch this game out, and it has all these bugs and issues? Just delay it. People have said that for years. Now that they're starting to delay these games, it's like, well, why these games ain't out? Like I always said that I think the best strategy for the industry is to stop giving out dates. Don't give if that game is close to the window and you know that game is ready to go, like then give the date between that 3 to 6 month range.
Give a window.
Give a window.
This winter, this fall, this summer.
Yeah.
Because then when you
truly determines. Yeah.
Let's say it ends up being a 6-month delay. What you know internally, right? Well,
right.
You just skipped a season. That's all it is for the person that's listening, right? It's how you present it.
Yes.
in regards to that. And and I'm the same token of I mean, I don't know if we're with or against this, but I'm more for showing games when they're much later in development, like it's releasing that year.
Oh yeah, because I mean, how many times have we seen games that, I mean, I know that we kind of beat down Crackdown for that, but Crackdown was different than the Crackdown that we seen. When we seen like, okay, there was a game that I was really anticipating for PlayStation called Wild. That game never seen the light of day. And then that one the one game from Capcom that was a PlayStation exclusive, PlayStation 4 exclusive. It was supposed to be a launch title. Deep Down, that never seen the light of day. So like, to me, there's no point of this. Like, they were talking about Detroit Become Human back on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
That game didn't come out until the end of the generation of the PlayStation 4. So it's like, to me, stop talking about these games, because and like you said, I would have rather not be told about maybe read about it, or maybe get a trailer or something about Scalebound, than to show that to me, present that to me, and then get me excited to the point of, like, I don't know why. And it's crazy because I don't know why was so excited about that game. Well, I know why I was so excited, but I'm just saying, to the degree that where it still burns me today, that game still hasn't seen the light of day. It's just buried, gone, finito, chitons. But that bothered me. And at that point in time, I'm like, Phil, Xbox staff, Aaron Greenberg, please stop announcing these games if they're not nowhere near close to being ready. I don't want to see games 3, 4, 5 years down the line. When I disagree with Predator so much about that stuff, and Xbox.
Xbox very hard nosed on that.
Trailer. Yeah. I don't want to see. I don't even want to hear, see, know any. You can put that in articles that they could be working on a title, that they could be working on this title, but do not show that in a event. And if that game is not ready, or if that game is just now starting to get in development, because we'll have these same type of situations.
It's like Everwild.
Have with
Everwild on Xbox. Perfect Dark. They showed it. They showed us out way too early. And I get the whole tease element of things, right? Mm-hmm. But we're in a different place. We're not in the GamePro generation of gaming anymore, right? We're not magazine style of gaming. Like, how relevant is your product once you put it out there? It's not very, very long these days. And so you have a window that's much smaller than you think it is. And I think, scaling back happens so much in game development too, as well. It's just part of how you make games, right? And so almost every single game, if you're short more than a year out, gets scaled back in some sort of form or fashion. Now, a good developer will do it in a way that you don't notice it, right? But not everyone's on that same level. You know what I mean? Right. So then you're under that scrutiny for that sort of stuff. So yeah, the industry needs to stop showing things out.
Show a year.
There's too many products too.
Yeah. Yes, tons of games out there.
Yeah, there's too many products for like that to be an issue anymore, right? Like, so like, you can show it late, and then that way, if it's a little bit delayed, it's not that big of a deal. Does that make sense? The impact of what you're dealing with is not as big. But when you say show a game 2 years out and then you delay it, that really pisses off someone.
Yeah.
So
it does.
So,
all right, man. Great point. Great point. All right, man. We're gonna have to end it. We went extra long today on this show.
Yeah,
but that's a good thing. We got plenty to talk about. But I mean, that's sometimes we don't have as much to talk about, or we just get to the point, keep it moving. But today we had a lot to discuss. Really good conversations as always. Man, where can they find you at, brother?
Well, they can find me on the Twitch channel. This is live streaming on, which is Don_KTR. Pretty much you type that into anything these days. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you will find me. And what I'm doing in regards to that. Now, I also release my live streams, post live stream on a separate YouTube channel, and I also there's another YouTube channel I'm growing, and I drop anything from it's just me as a talking head essentially. So it's anything from game development to me being as a gamer and things that other interest me related to games, which in some cases it's streaming as well. So going to be dropping my first streaming video to kind of help people out, to allow people to do co-streaming. So that's going to be dropping soon. So
All right, good deal. And as for me, you can catch me on this channel, on Don's channel, when we stream on Saturdays. And then also you can catch me on my channel, KMega405 on Twitch, on my YouTube channel, KMega405, on Twitter, at KMega4. Yeah, man, just appreciate it. This will be put on the channel here tomorrow, and I let it rip in the mornings, and so and we do it kind of. I like that little thing that I do where I make it live, so it kind of feels like it's so it's fresh and new for people in the morning. So we'll see. This will be hopefully out by Friday morning, so I can go ahead and get that done. And man, really appreciate it as always, man. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check out Wildlands, man, to see why I'm having problems with it, because it didn't work. Because I really want to. When we did that,
I think
part,
instant
I was like,
resume.
oh, so fun.
I think instant resume on Xbox kind of screws it up sometimes.
Oh, that screwed up my Madden trial. I was pissed. So, but I'm gonna get it tomorrow. So I was pissed. I mean, played me a couple of games.
Oh, because it said you were just logged in playing for.
Yes, I didn't log out. I forgot that thing happened, and I was like, oh my god. So yeah, but I get it. I'm getting it tomorrow. So you know what I'm saying. So
we'll figure out Wildlands because we're gonna co-stream that.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna drop my co-streaming video for K Mega so you can start hosting co-streams as well. And then we'll be able to do the same.
Bring Mixer back in one way, shape, or form.
And the Dreamcast of streaming, the Dreamcast of streaming, man.
The Dreamcast of streaming.
But no, co-streaming is coming back, and that's something I know a lot of people enjoyed when we were on Mixer. And we would game together that you can see each other what we're doing. I mean, the big trial was when we did Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
And we did co-streaming. I at least did it on my channel, and it worked flawlessly. In regards to that, so I would like to get.
Halo gets the content, we'll get back into it, so we'll all get down and.
Yeah, I would like to get maybe like One Bad Mother, you, Bot, all in there, and then we just do a co-stream of everyone. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Until next time, man, we'll see you here in a couple of weeks, man, with another Devin the Gamer, man.
Okay. Am I safe to hit the button now?
Yeah, you can hit the button now.
Okay.